Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Yuling Girl, Starting Contract SSS Level School Beauty. Chapter 31. He looked at the death scythe in his hand again. One moment you eat soft rice, the other moment you eat it. It always eats soft food, it always tastes good. What are you thinking about? Let's start quickly. Seeing that he hadn't moved for a long time, Yuling couldn't help but urge. Xiaoan came to his senses and quickly prepared to start. Okay, rich woman. Rich woman. Ah, you heard me wrong. I said my wife. Yes, my wife. Quote. Yuling blushed, not serious. His tone was slightly angry, but he was obviously extremely happy. At the same time, Jiao Long is with his younger brother Wang Hu. Brother Long, you don't think this Xiaoan is really F level, do you? Wang Hu asked tentatively. Jiao Long glared at him and said coldly, if you ask such a question that insults your IQ, do you think it is insulting your IQ or mine? That's not what I meant. Wang Hu was suddenly embarrassed. He was just kindly reminding him. However, it can also be seen from this sentence that Jiao Long does not really think Xiaoan is F level. Jiao Long knew that he had no ill intentions, so he calmed down a little and continued, the Yi family is not a fool, and she, Yuling, is not a fool. Even if this Xiaoan is really an F-level waste talent, then he must have something different in him. An ordinary person's secret, otherwise, Yuling would definitely not choose him. Wang Hu nodded, it would be great if Jiao Long could see clearly. He was afraid that Jiao Long would be knocked out of his mind. After flattering him, he said doubtfully, Brother Long is smart, but since you know he has a secret, Brother Long, why do you still provoke them? Provocative. Hearing this word, Jiao Long couldn't help but get angry again. Who in the entire Beide Yuling Academy doesn't know that I want to make a contract with Yuling? Now that she has been cut off by someone else, this would be equivalent to me being cuckolded in the ancient first year. A direct descendant of the Jiao family, one of my 8 great families, was compared to a trash that everyone knows. Do you want me to get this face back? Wang Hu was a little out of breath under the pressure of Jiao Long's momentum. A spirit master who had contracted was actually suppressed by someone who had not yet contracted. If people saw this, they would really be shocked. Wang Hu nodded repeatedly. I want it, it's related to the family's face, of course I have to get it back. Jiao Long regained his momentum, and his tone softened a little. It didn't have such a strong smell of gunpowder, but it became very serious again. Actually, no matter whether I provoke him or not, he and I can't avoid a fight. The freshman competition is very important, as it affects all the resources in the future. If you fail at one step, your destiny will change. I originally wanted to make a contract with Yuling, just to secure first place in the freshman competition. But who knows, I still didn't achieve what I wanted. Now that she has signed a contract, I naturally have to make preparations again. And I deliberately provoke them, just to make them relax their vigilance and make them think that I am an arrogant and incompetent person. In this way, you can be surprised in the freshman competition. After hearing his explanation, Wang Hu's expression suddenly brightened. It turns out that Jiao Long had calculated everything long ago. The boss is indeed the boss. Seeing Wang Hu's admiring eyes, Jiao Long felt extremely disdainful in his heart. Although Wang Hu had awakened his S-level talent and had a bright future, he still lacked a lot of enthusiasm in thinking and doing things. You can see some problems, but only a few problems. This will limit his future development. But he also has a bright spot, that is, he has recognized a good big brother in advance. Brother Long, is the reward of this freshman competition really so important? Wang Hu asked with admiration. He felt that it was just a secret practice. Is there any need to be so careless and cautious? Jiao Long just chuckled at this question, it depends on the person whether it's important or not. Anyway, it's really not important to you. Jiao Long would not explain to him, because it would be of no use. Secret realm rewards are not something someone like Wang Hu can get his hands on. Okay, how did you go about what I told you? Jiao Long asked again. After coming out of the classroom, Jiao Long asked Wang Hu to find if there were any SS-level weapon spirits that he didn't have a contract with. After all, he didn't have a contract yet. Although he was ready for the freshman competition, the contracted weapon spirits were the first event. Wang Hu shook his head helplessly. Brother Long, there are only 3 SS level weapon spirits enrolled this year. They were contracted by several other SS level spirit masters early on. There are no weapon spirits that have not yet been contracted. Quote. Jiao Long frowned slightly, but this answer was also what he expected. He had already envisioned this ending when he gave up others for Yuling. He wanted to keep a spare in advance, but SS level weapon spirits were always a hot commodity wherever they went. Regardless of whether she is a woman from an aristocratic family with a strong background or an ordinary woman from a poor family, as long as she awakens an SS level weapon spirit, she will be the target of competition, without exception. Especially the kind of weapon spirit with no background. Almost as soon as it awakened, it was bribed by the major wealthy families. Jiao Long wanted to keep one as a backup, but it was impossible. What about the S-class ones? Jiao Long regretted his original impulse. The main reason was that the data he had at that time was very comprehensive. He knew clearly about Yuling's character and the information about the awakened geniuses in the 4 major colleges. Based on the screening, he had a high probability that Yuling would choose him in the end. What I didn't expect was that Xiaoan appeared in the middle. There are no S-level ones. Brother Long, at this time, almost all the talented ones have been contracted. Wang Hu said. Geniuses are prized, and usually on the day of awakening, most of the geniuses will be contracted. On the second day, almost no one signed up. There is no one like Jiao Long who has been delayed for almost a week. When Jiao Long heard this, he couldn't help but feel anxious. He really lost his wife and lost his troops. There was anger in his mind. Wouldn't I be able to pry corners without you? SS class ones are not easy to pry, but aren't S class ones easy to pry? There are only so many rich and powerful people, and there are a lot of S-class people with no background. Wait, you don't know how to use your brain. S-level students are geniuses in other colleges and are regarded as treasures. But in the 4 major Yuling academies, he was just looked at twice. There are only 8 major families in total. With his resources and background, it will not be easy for him, Jiao Long, to gain an S-level corner in Beatty Yuling Academy. Wang Hu was so scolded that he didn't dare to reply. Yes, I will contact the weapon spirit right away. Looking for it alone will take years and months. Let all my brothers look for it. Yes, Brother Long. Just as Wang Hu was about to retreat, a man with short black hair walked over. It's yellow hair. Brother Long, are you looking for a suitable weapon spirit? I happen to have a suitable candidate who I can recommend to you. Huang Mao smiled mischievously. Tell me and listen, Jiao Long said with a cold face. Seeing that Jiao Long was angry, Huang Mao quickly told what he had just seen. Then, he took out another piece of information and handed it to Jiao Long. Brother Long, I have investigated the information about Zhang Shen'er and Lin Dong. You will definitely be interested. Jiao Long took it and looked at it. Huang Mao introduced at the same time, I think since Brother Long wants to regain face with Xiaoan, why not use this Zhang Shen'er? With the emotional entanglement between them, he will definitely be able to bring a physical blow to Xiaoan, and there can be another heavy blow to the soul. The key thing is that this Zhang Shen'er is also an S-level weapon spirit, and a sharp snow lotus sword. It is extremely powerful. Even among the entire S-level weapon spirits, he is also a leader. It is very suitable for Brother Long now, needs. Jiao Long couldn't help but look at the information in his hand. This is a good way to double whammy. After just thinking for a moment, he nodded in agreement. It's indeed good. The quality of this Zhang Shen'er is very high. If it can be developed effectively, it is not impossible to advance to the SS level in the future. The talent of the spiritual master can be improved, and the talent of the weapon spirit can also be improved. It's just that the 2 methods are different. After getting Jiao Long's affirmation, Huang Mao felt that he had made a great contribution. Brother Long, I have also investigated this Lin Dong. He is just a member of an ordinary urban family. He is not a threat. If Zhang Shen'er is snatched away, he will give up. Dare to let one go. The key thing is that the emotional bond between Zhang Shen'er and Xiaoan is very interesting. After Xiaoan was abandoned by Zhang Shen'er, Xiaoan used Yuling's talent to regain face from Zhang Shen'er. If there is a new life this time, if Zhang Shen'er can defeat Xiaoan in a big competition, then Xiaoan's state of mind will definitely be affected. Even, his cultivation path will be restricted. When Jiao Long heard this, he couldn't help but feel happy in his heart. He could already imagine Xiaoan being so angry that he vomited blood after being defeated. It must be difficult to accept being defeated by someone you defeated, right? Very good, Huang Mao, you did a good job this time, I will give you a great credit. Jiao Long praised. Thank you, Brother Long, thank you, Brother Long. Huang Mao smiled broadly. Okay, without further ado, you guys hurry up and contact Zhang Shen'er. No matter what method you use, bring the person to me first. I want to pry this corner myself. Yes, Wang Hu and Huang Mao take action immediately. The two moved very quickly. Almost that same night, Zhang Xiaoner was found. The college attaches great importance to the protection of students, so Zhang Xiaoner doesn't have to worry too much about danger. And she actually didn't plan to come, but the name of the Jiao Long family still made her hesitate. The two met in a rest area. In the evening, there are many couples going on dates here. Who are you and what do you want from me? Zhang Shen'er got straight to the point after meeting. Jiao Long took a look at Zhang Shen'er. Should he say it or not, Zhang Shen'er was very beautiful, and the pure aura about her body made people want to get close to her. Her figure and temperament are much better than many beauties in the academy, but she is still a little behind Yuling. The other party was so direct that Jiao Long didn't try to hide anything. I'm here to pry you into trouble. I want to sign a contract with you. I've already signed with someone else. I know, so I came to negotiate terms with you. Leave him and sign a contract with me. You won't regret it. Jiao Long smiled confidently. Zhang Xiaoner sneered, before negotiating terms, it is the most basic courtesy to reveal your identity. It has been several days since she enrolled in Beatty Yuling Academy. In the past few days, many people have approached Zhang Xiaoner to sign a contract. But among those people, most of them were rich and powerful A-level spiritual masters, and there were only a few S-level talents. Because rich, powerful and talented spiritual masters have no shortage of weapon spirits at all. As for those A-level ones, Zhang Xiaoner naturally looked down upon them. As for the S-level people, they were uneven in all aspects. If they couldn't meet her standards, they might as well follow Lin Dong. The name of the Jiao Long family really attracted her interest. Jiao Long smiled slightly, first took out a jade box and placed it in front of her, and then introduced it. My name is Jiao Long. I am a direct descendant of the 8 major families, the Jiao family. I have abundant resources and a talent level of SS. If you sign a contract with me, this snow lotus will be my meeting gift to you. With that said, he opened the jade box. Inside the jade box, a flawless snow lotus lies quietly. The flowers are all white jade, and even the leaves and roots are white jade. The whole thing is transparent, without a single flaw, and exudes a faint aura of coldness. Just smelling it is refreshing. Zhang Xiaoner's cold expression showed a slight fluctuation. This snow lotus is a relatively rare spiritual herb. Its main effect is to clear the mind and calm the energy, remove dark stasis and impurities from the body, and assist in cultivation. Under normal circumstances, it is almost impossible for people who are not particularly wealthy and well-connected to get it. Because the auxiliary practice effect is so good and everyone can use it, people will buy it as soon as it appears. The key point is that to others, this snow lotus is only an aid in cultivation, but to Zhang Xiaoner, this snow lotus is of even greater value. Because this snow lotus is a necessity for her to advance to SS level weapon spirit. There are different ways for weapon spirits and spiritual masters to advance their talents. Spirit masters can eat any spiritual fruits or herbs that can improve their qualifications. However, the weapon spirit is more demanding and can only eat the kind of spiritual grass and spiritual fruit that matches its own attributes. Once you eat something with opposite attributes, not only will it not improve, but it will also decrease. Zhang Shen'er herself has a snow lotus sword, and this snow lotus is the most suitable spiritual grass for her. Not only can she advance immediately after eating it, it can definitely greatly increase her strength. I have to say that this snowdrop made her heart flutter. Seeing Zhang Shen'er's expression, Jiao Long felt a little more confident. Then he continued, this snow lotus is only effective for 50 years. I still have one at home that is effective for 100 years. It is definitely more practical to follow me than to follow Lin Dong. 100 years. Zhang Xiaoner took a breath of cold air. What is the concept of 100 years? You know, it has only been more than 120 years since the world changed. Shortness of breath. But she calmed down quickly. She is a person who thinks about things with interests as the core. She knows that there is no free lunch in the world. So she asked, with your talent and family background, it's not difficult to find an SS level weapon spirit. Why did you choose me? In this regard, Jiao Long also admitted generously, it is indeed not difficult to choose the SS class, but it is not easy. If you miss the opportunity, it will not be so easy to find the SS class again. To tell you the truth, I still free body, no weapon spirit. As for choosing you, the reason is very simple, that is, you are good enough in S class, and we have a common enemy. Common enemy? Who? Zhang Shan'er asked. Xiaoan. Hearing these two words, Zhang Shan'er's eyes narrowed. What hatred do you have against him? Jiao Long replied, he stole my weapon spirit object. You mean the SSS weapon spirit Yi Yutaki? Yes. If that's the case, then we really have the same enemy. Zhang Shan'er nodded in disbelief. But then she seemed to have thought of something, and asked, I'm very curious as to why Yi Yuling chose Xiaoan as the contract partner. You and she are both from the 8 major families, so you should know something, right? Jiao Long chuckled and shook his head, I am as confused as you are about this. But what I am sure of is that Xiaoan is definitely not as simple as you think on the surface. Zhang Shan'er was shocked, you mean he is not class F? I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. Hearing this answer, Zhang Xiaoner fell silent for a short time. She didn't expect that Xiaoan's talent was fake, but she saw it with her own eyes, how could it be fake? If it is fake, what is his talent? S level, or SS level? If an SSS level like Yi Yuling chooses Xiaoan instead of Jiao Long, is he an SSS level? If so, did Zhang Xiaoner miss something? She shook off the thought, she couldn't accept that she had made the wrong choice. After silence, she looked at Jiao Long with a hint of seriousness, most of what you said are benefits to me, but you haven't said yet, what benefits will you get after you sign the contract with me? Zhang Xiaoner is not a fool. Being able to use Xiaoan for 6 years in vain means that she must have her own unique skills. There is no pie in the sky. Jiao Long wants contracted weapon spirits. SS level ones are hard to find, but there are a lot of S level ones. Why do you have to look for yourself? Just because the common enemy and yourself are good enough. She didn't believe it. After all, no matter how good she is only an S level. Hear the question. Jiao Long couldn't help but glance at Zhang Shan'er with admiration, admiring her thoughtfulness. Previously, he originally planned to abandon Zhang Shan'er after using her, and then wait for the opportunity to find another SS level weapon spirit to make a contract. But now, after talking with Zhang Shan'er, he found that Zhang Shan'er's thinking was very clear, she was excellent in all aspects, and she was a very smart woman. He kind of changed his mind. If Zhang Shan'er can be trained into an SS level weapon spirit, then signing a contract with her might also be a good choice. He said bluntly at the moment, it is also urgent to choose you. If there is an SS level, I will definitely choose her. You are the best among S level, and you can barely meet my requirements. I need to sign a contract with you quickly, and then take first place in the freshman competition in a month's time. Defeat Yi Yuling, just to regain my face. Defeat Yi Yutaki, get first place. Zhang Xiaoner expressed doubts about him. She felt that this was a bit too much. Before everyone became a first-grade spiritual master, the high talent of the weapon spirit had an absolute advantage. It was not easy to defeat Yi Yuling. She clearly remembered how miserable she was when she was defeated by the death scythe. Jiao Long knew what she was suspecting. He pushed Snow Lotus in front of Zhang Shan'er, don't worry, sign a contract with me. I'm sure that the two of us can break through and become a first-class spiritual master within a month. As long as we become a first-grade spiritual master, Xiaoan and the others have nothing to fear. What? A first-grade spiritual master? Are you sure? Zhang Shan'er was shocked, her mouth couldn't help but open wide, and the pupils of her eyes shrank violently. You can become a first-grade spiritual master within a month. Isn't this too incredible? You know, if she and Lin Dong practice together, with the accumulation of Lin Dong family resources, they can shorten the normal half-year time to become a first-grade spiritual master to 4 to 5 months. And if she makes a contract with the SS level, she can break through to a first-grade spiritual master in about 3 months without using resources. Jiao Long is SS level. Even with the assistance of the Jiao family's resources, it is impossible to shorten it to 1 month. After all, although many spiritual grasses and spiritual fruits have great tonic effects, the body's strength is limited and cannot bear them. Therefore, she was very suspicious of Jiao Long's words. But Jiao Long said, "You don't have to doubt the authenticity of my words. If I can't do it, I won't choose to make a contract with you. The reward of the freshman competition is far more valuable to me than a slap in the face. It's important that Yutaki comes. You don't know the meaning of the secret realm, so there's no need for me to explain it to you now. You just need to know that I, Jiao Long, am not a fool, and I will never find a vase to take with me." This sentence is very straightforward and makes people feel uncomfortable. But at the same time, this sentence also affirms Zhang Shan'er's value. But Zhang Shan'er still had a solemn face. Even if you become a first-grade spiritual master, you may not be able to defeat Xiaoan, right? If his talent is fake, then his real talent will definitely not be lower than mine. Can we? If he becomes a first-grade spiritual master, then he can definitely become a first-grade spiritual master. You are right, but I have already made arrangements for this matter. In short, I will never lose. Jiao Long puffed up his chest and had already calculated everything. He has absolute confidence in this. When Zhang Shan'er saw this, most of the doubts in her heart disappeared. Looking at the snow lotus in front of her, she quickly thought about the pros and cons of signing a contract with Jiao Long. 3 seconds later, she agreed, "Okay, I promise you." Jiao Long had a brief exchange with her and knew that she was a smart person. Knowing what choice she would make, he smiled slightly and placed the snow lotus directly on her hand. "Eat this snow lotus as soon as possible. It can improve your attributes. If there are no doubts, let's go now." Contract. Zhang Xiaoan accepted the snow lotus unceremoniously, looked at Jiao Long, and suddenly asked, "I dismissed Lin Dong today, and I may dismiss you tomorrow. Aren't you afraid that your efforts will be in vain?" Hearing this question, Jiao Long was originally a little worried about it. But now I am not so worried anymore. Because he felt that if a woman would take the initiative to say such a thing, it would prove that she was most likely not such a person. "So," he said very coolly, "are there many such things in this world? The important thing is not that my efforts were in vain, but that in the process of giving, I also gained something. I won't lose anything on this. Of course, and more importantly, only useless spiritual masters will worry about the weapon spirit leaving. And I, Jiao Long, am obviously not a useless person." Jiao Long's words exuded confidence. When Zhang Shan'er saw how confident he looked, she also had a smile of great recognition on her face. However, deep in her eyes, there was an imperceptible light flashing. Some doubts, once expressed, are no longer doubts. But you have to understand that this doubt always exists, it just exists in a more hidden way. The two walked into the contract room. At the same time, Lin Dong, who was far away in the boys' dormitory, suddenly felt that the connection in his mind was broken, and Zhang Shan'er's involvement disappeared. He jumped up from the bed and ran away. The other side. After Xiaoan and Yuling finished their training, they returned to the apartment. Practicing in the training room is very mentally and physically demanding. The whole body is engaged in training at the maximum load, which is a test for the body. However, although tired, the effect is obvious. Xiaoan already has some knowledge of this imperial technique, and he is confident that he can master it within a month. After returning to the house, taking a shower, taking a deep breath, and clenching his fists, Xiaoan felt that he was so strong that he could explode at this moment. But he knew that a large part of this feeling was water, a sequelae brought about by the nerve senses. Don't blindly believe that this is your own power. Both of them washed up and got ready for bed. Xiaoan subconsciously put his hand on Yuling's waist, wanting to put her in his arms to sleep, but he took it back as soon as he put it on. "Ah, sorry, subconscious." Xiaoan smiled awkwardly. "During the day, when I was quarreling with Lin Dong and the others, I hugged Yuling. It was so smooth that I couldn't bear to leave." "It doesn't matter," Yuling said lightly, but his face was slightly red. Suddenly, she took Xiaoan's hand over and placed it on her waist again. Xiaoan was a little surprised, feeling the smoothness on his fingertips, and seeing Yi Yulong's shy eyes that he didn't dare to look directly into. He couldn't help but smile, and with a strong hand, he directly hugged Yi Yulong into his arms. Yi Yulong exclaimed with an expression on his face, and suddenly felt that he had arrived at a warm and familiar chest. Her face turned redder. She would feel this kind of chest every night when she woke up. Before falling asleep, the two of them treated each other as if they were guests, but after falling asleep, she inexplicably ended up in Xiaozan's arms. Seeing her so shy and charming, Xiaozan felt as sweet as a flower blooming in his heart. Then it was time to turn off the lights and go to sleep. In the following days, Xiaozan and Yi Yulong spent most of their time in the training room, practicing the skill of fish lantern attracting souls with all their strength, in preparation for the freshman competition. Since he spent most of his time in the training room, there were fewer people looking for a sense of presence, which also made it difficult for Xiaozan to have peace and quiet. However, Lin Dong came to see Xiaozan once on the way. Xiaozan thought he was here to cause trouble, but he didn't expect that he was here to ask Xiaozan to beat Zhang Shen'er until she cried and begged for mercy in the freshman competition. Xiaozan, who was beating his chest and grinning, shook his head. I was secretly glad that I didn't make a contract with Zhang Shen'er when what happened to me, otherwise, I would one day be betrayed by Zhang Shen'er. He also didn't expect that Zhang Shen'er would abandon Lin Dong so decisively. Sure enough, I still didn't understand Zhang Shen'er very well. In this way, time passes day by day. A month later, Xiaozan finally succeeded in practicing the fish lantern to attract souls, and he walked out of the training room. Unexpectedly, Lin Dong was waiting anxiously at the door of the training room. Seeing him come out, I was extremely happy and said, "Brother, you are finally out. Registration is almost over. If you don't come out, you won't be able to compete." It's true that the emperor is not in a hurry and the eunuch is. Xiaozan was speechless, because Lin Dong wanted to see Zhang Xiaoner slapped in the face, so he could go up and slap her in the face. Wouldn't it be more satisfying to take revenge like this? Don't count on others. Lin Dong didn't care that he had so much. He hurriedly took Xiaozan to the registration point, for fear that Xiaozan would not be able to register. Hey, let me tell you, do you really believe that I can defeat Zhang Shen'er? Xiaozan asked speechlessly. Lin Dong said, "It's not that I believe you can defeat her, but between the two of us, you are the only one who can defeat her. I can't wait to see that idiot defeated. When the current person also becomes the X, then the X and the former X become people on the same front." Xiaozan gave him a like. This guy has a pretty clear mind. However, Xiaozan had no interest in slapping Zhang Xiaoner in the face. This kind of personal hatred is far less meaningful than the secret realm. The two of them arrived at the registration point. There was actually plenty of time. After the registration ended, there was still a quarter of an hour before the game started. Although Lin Dong was anxious, he seemed relieved when he saw that Xiaozan's registration was successful. Then, he turned to Xiaozan and reminded, "You have been practicing this month, and you may not know what is going on outside. In this freshman competition, you must pay attention to Jiao Long and Zhang Shen'er. The two of them broke through and became first-grade spiritual masters yesterday." Lin Dong said this in a tone of surprise and resentment. He knew Zhang Shen'er's talent. According to normal development, it would take at least 4 months to break through to the first level. As a result, after leaving him, he became a first-grade weapon spirit in just 1 month. No wonder Zhang Xiaoner left him so decisively. He also thought that such a day would come, but he didn't expect that this day would come so quickly. Hearing this, Xiaozan was also a little surprised. The combination of an SS level spiritual master and an S level weapon spirit can both break through to the first level in a month. This is really unbelievable. Not everyone is the same as me, with special talents and bloodline skills. At this time, Yi Yulong next to him analyzed, the Jiao family is a military and business family. Half of the family members are in the army and half are in business. With the support of the army, their business is very powerful, mainly involving spiritual grass, spiritual fruits, monster corpses, etc. The sale of valuable items. So, I guess the two of them must have taken elixirs that are very suitable for their own attributes. Otherwise, they would not be able to practice so fast. Is this the terrifying power of resources? Xiaozan could only sigh. No wonder after the strange change, the 8 aristocratic families have always been just 8 and have never changed. Under such a terrifying and massive accumulation of resources, as long as there is no special waste in the family will almost never collapse. Like some companies, it is inherited through blood. Anyway, Xiaozan, you have to be careful. This time, in addition to the 2 of them, there are 3 other pairs of SS level 1s who have also broken through and become first-grade spiritual masters. You pose many threats, Lin Dong said very worriedly. I was afraid that Xiaozan wouldn't be able to slap Zhang Shen'er in the face. After saying that, he stared at Xiaozan again. Hey, tell me everything. Do you have any secrets? Otherwise, the night school beauties will like you. After staying in the academy for a month, he heard a lot of rumors about Xiaozan. Xiaozan may be a waste, but Yi Yuling is definitely not a waste. But Yi Yuling chose the waste Xiaozan, which shows that Xiaozan is not a waste either. Xiaozan looked at his curious eyes, spread his hands, and smiled teasingly. If you think so, you can. Lin Dong was anxious. Just tell me. Look at how seriously I am trying to find out the news for you. Can you please satisfy my curiosity? I didn't ask you to help me find out the information. This is all of your own free will. What does it have to do with me? Xiaozan didn't appreciate it at all. He remembered that Lin Dong promised to give him a good look in a year. Although he couldn't give it at all, Xiaozan was very vindictive. Lin Dong was a little angry. He had good intentions and helped Xiaozan to find out the news. He just forgot about it without thanking him, but in the end he didn't even have a good attitude. Isn't this too arrogant? Just about to speak. At this time, the bell rang for the official start of the freshman competition. Then a gentle and elegant old man walked onto the stage. Hello fellow students. My name is Wang Qian, and I am the vice president of Beatty Yuling Academy. I will also host this year's freshman competition. It is a great honor for me. This freshman competition is divided into 2 stages. The first stage is the knockout round. All students will be eliminated one-on-one, and the first place will be determined in the end. The second stage is the challenge. For students who have won the first place in the elimination round and feel that they are not worthy of their reputation, they can challenge it. The winner of the challenge will be the first place. Only freshmen from this college are allowed to participate in this freshman competition. Seniors are not allowed to join in on a contract, and outsiders are not allowed to join in on a contract. Those found cheating will be expelled from the college. The first place in this freshman competition will be able to enter the Beatty Secret Realm to practice for 3 days. I hope all the students will work hard and win the championship. Now I declare that the game officially begins. As Wang Qian's words fell, a famous referee walked up to each competition stage. They held the roster in their hands, and then started to read the names directly. The students came on stage and began to compete, and the competition officially began. The number of new students is large, about 10,000. The contract between men and women was folded in half, so there were 5,000 couples. This was a relatively huge game. However, the freshman competition is not mandatory, but is a voluntary choice to sign up. Therefore, there are many B-level and A-level spiritual masters who know that they are no match for them and simply give up. Of course, most people just want to go up and show their faces and gain some practical experience. Xiaozan's competition position is at the 6th competition stage in Area A, and he has been waiting here early. After watching 3 games, he had a general understanding of the strength of these students. Sure enough, almost 99% of people have not broken through to the first level spiritual master. This kind of competition is completely a benefit for those with the highest talent. However, the academy is an academy after all, and we must pay attention to fairness in everything we do, so we organized such a competition. Next, Xiaozan and Yi Yuling will fight against Ma Li and Wang Qin. The referee's voice. Xiaozan and Yi Yuling immediately jumped onto the competition stage, and then, opposite them, a man and woman also jumped out. Ma Li and Wang Qin are both S-level, and they are very confident in their own strength. They are not guaranteed to win the first place, but they also feel that they are among the top few, and maybe they can get it if they are lucky. When they came to the stage, they saw that their opponents were Xiaozan and Yi Yuling. Both of them showed a hint of contempt in their eyes. I thought the first round would be easy, but I didn't expect it would be easy. Tisk, 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 I'm still the belle of the night university. Such a good thing as beating up the bell of the school unexpectedly fell on my head. Ma Li twisted his neck, the corners of his mouth were grinning, and his bones were cracking. Clearly, he felt he had a winning chance. Wang Qin didn't have much thought, and just said lightly, it doesn't matter who the opponent is, as long as we win in the end, it's enough. Although he didn't mean to be sarcastic, he obviously thought that his side would win. HMPH, I really don't know what Yuling is thinking. It's not good to choose someone, so I have to choose an F-level waste. Ma Li said, dissatisfied and resentful when he saw Yuling's beauty, with a little jealousy. Such a beautiful school beauty, a top weapon spirit, and a wife contract. Xiaoan has almost become a topic of conversation after dinner in the college. If the life and death contract could not be terminated, Xiaoan would directly become a public enemy. Defeating Xiao and seizing the school beauty will become the slogan. Wang Qin glanced at him and said seriously, okay, don't be too careless. After all, Yuling is an SSS level weapon spirit, so he still has strength. So what, look at me trampling her under my feet today. Ma snorted coldly, and activated the power of Yu. Wang Qin next to him turned into a simple long sword and was held in his hand. The sword has a smooth body and a wooden handle. It looks extremely plain, as if it has no offensive power. Xiaoan didn't hesitate. With a move of his hand, Yuling turned into a death sickle exuding black energy. Black energy enveloped the entire death scythe, and Xiaoan's aura suddenly became colder. His eyebrows were cold and his pupils were as black as ink. His whole figure looked like a demon lord emerging from hell, which was very attractive. In terms of special effects alone, Xiaoan has already crushed the horsepower. Is this the SSS level weapon spirit death scythe? The aura is so shocking. Under the competition stage, the students watching let out a sigh of relief. This is the first time many of them have seen SSS level weapon spirits. For a time, the audience and students from other competition arenas were attracted. The aura is entwined, the darkness is domineering, and just looking at the appearance and special effects, this night school beauty is a sure winner. This is the SSS level. The gap between an S-level weapon spirit and an SSS level 1 is simply wider than the gap between a human and a dog. Oh, I really don't know why the night school beauty chose Xiaoan. On the fighting stage, when Ma Li saw this scene, his brows were already knitted together. Jealousy is a bad word. My S-level weapon spirit is considered excellent in the academy, but compared with this SSS level Yuling, it absolutely pales in comparison. They say fireflies are brighter than the bright moon. This S-class can't even compare to Firefly. Xiaoan, you are really jealous of me. Ma Li gritted his teeth and muttered, and then directly launched the attack first, stabbing Xiaoan with a sword. The strong jealousy made him eager to beat Xiaoan to pieces. Ding! Xiaoan swung out the death demon scythe in his hand, and Ma Li's sword hit the demon scythe and was firmly blocked. Ma was shocked. From the feeling coming from the weapon spirit, he found that Xiaoan's power was surprisingly powerful. He clenched his teeth and increased the strength in his hands, trying to break through Xiaoan's defense. But Xiaoan remained motionless, allowing Ma Liu's power to push him to the extreme. His face turned red and his ears turned red. Xiaoan was also extremely calm, motionless as a mountain. Not even a hair was moved. The death scythe is held up straight with its arms, and its unique length can easily block the horsepower at a distance of 3 meters. From the perspective of the audience, this scene looks like a tall, handsome man easily holding a short-handed elementary school student with one hand. 1 inch longer, 1 inch stronger. Xiaoan is not just 1 inch longer, he is almost a foot taller. The students exclaimed. At the same time, there were waves of envy on his face. Putting aside the quality, just holding such a scythe in your hand is extremely attractive. On the fighting stage, Horsepower's attack was fruitless, and anger grew on his face. He immediately chose to withdraw his offensive and charge up his attack again. But at this time, Xiaoan suddenly took a step ahead of him. I saw the death scythe drawing a big circle in the air, and a whistling sound came from my ears. The death scythe appeared from the side of Ma Li and slammed towards him. Ma Li's eyes jumped and he was surprised by the surprising speed. He immediately raised his sword across his chest to block. Holding the hilt of the sword with one hand and the sword body with the other, use the strength of both hands to block without daring to be careless. Unsurprisingly, the death scythe struck the sword. Bang! Ma Li's expression suddenly changed dramatically, and his pupils were shocked. This terrifying power. He quickly mobilized the power of defense in his body with all his strength, but the power released by the death scythe was like a truck hitting him, it was simply unstoppable. He directly bent the sword in his hand and pressed it against his chest. There was a sharp tearing pain in his chest, and before he could react, with a whoosh, his whole body was blown away like a kite with its string broken. With a pop, he flew out from the competition stage and fell heavily to the ground. The long sword in his hand couldn't be held and fell, turning into Wang Qin, also lying weakly on the ground. Ma held his chest in severe pain and looked at Wang Qin. Both of them saw deep shock and fear in each other's eyes. This Xiaozan's power was so powerful that he knocked them away with just one slap. Moreover, they were completely helpless. Is this really a combination of F-class and SSS class? They couldn't believe it. At this time, the ambulance personnel nearby came up and immediately checked the injuries of the two people. Fortunately, they only had broken ribs and nothing serious. The scene was silent for a while. This scene happened so quickly that everyone's brains obviously didn't react. However, the referee was the first to react. In this match, Xiaoan and Yuling win. As his words fell, the atmosphere in the audience changed from silence to buzzing, and the students started talking one after another. What the hell is this? Can it be solved with one move? Didn't you say that Xiaoan is an F-level waste? That's right, I'm confused. There are rumors that he is not, and judging from the strength they showed just now, I think he is not. I don't think so, but I have never seen an SSS level weapon spirit before, so I don't know how powerful it is. There is very little information about the SSS level recorded in the book. It is also possible that the SSS level is so powerful that it is easy for them to win. It makes sense. After all, SSS level is unique, and S level is much more common. The quality gap between the two is not huge, but it should be an insurmountable gap. Xiaoan may rely on SSS level quality in the early stage, crushing. Opinions vary, but no matter how everyone speculated and discussed, at this moment, many people who had looked down on Xiaoan before quietly became serious. Strength is always the best way to silence people. In the crowd, Jiao Long and Zhang Xianer also saw this scene. You killed two S levels instantly with one move, and it was still so clean and neat. I'm afraid Xiaoan and the others are as strong as a first-grade spiritual master, right? Zhang Xianer looked at Jiao Long, saying she was worried, but her expression didn't look worried at all. On the contrary, it was very peaceful. Jiao Long frowned with contempt and replied, so what if they are a first-grade spiritual master? I have already prepared everything. If they fail to reach the level of a first-grade spiritual master, they will make me lose the fun. Are you so confident? Aren't you afraid of what might happen? Jiao Long stared into Zhang Xianer's eyes and chuckled confidently, accident. All effective changes come from the lack of one's own strength. When your strength is enough to control all changes, the change cannot be called a change. Seeing what Zhang Xianer was about to say, Jiao Long interrupted her directly, okay, it's our turn to compete soon. Xiaoan and Yuling came down from the competition stage. There were more people competing on the first day, so they only had one competition today. For the rest of the day, they planned to continue practicing. As a result, I just left a while ago. Lin Dong chased after him with a surprised look on his face. Beside him was a girl who was the target of his new contract. I saw you right, you actually smashed the opponent to pieces with just one scythe. I'm not even sure I can beat those two people. Lin Dong's face was full of joy and excitement. Xiaoan was happier than himself. Nonsense, if you could win, you wouldn't come to me. Also, stop flattering me. Don't forget that we are enemies and we have a one-year appointment. Xiaoan reminded. What kind of one-year agreement? From the day Zhang Xianer left me, the hatred between the two of us disappeared. Why should I fight with you? Moreover, we are now a united front. Our only enemy is one, that is Zhang Xianer. Stop it. Xiaoan stretched out his hand and corrected, I don't have the same thoughts as you. I think about revenge every day. I just want to defeat all the opponents who stop me from taking the first place. I understand. Lin Dong smiled knowingly. You are a gentleman, and I am a villain, right? Anyway, as long as you defeat Zhang Shen'er, I don't care about anything. That fool deceived my feelings, and you owe me so much. Treat her sincerely. Xiaozan was speechless and too lazy to talk to him. Meaningless words, meaningless people. Pure waste of time. The following few days, there were no surprises in the matches between Xiaozan and Yuling. They both won easily. Except for the first encounter with S-level Ma Li and Wang Qin, they had better luck later on, as they were all A-level and B-level players. Facing them, without exception, they were defeated with one move. That's it. A week later, the competition has entered the final stage. Of the nearly 5,000 pairs of participating students, only 8 pairs are left. What surprised Xiaozan was that Lin Dong was also one of the top 8. Although this guy is S-level, his strength can be considered as good as S-level. In the next match, Xiaozan and Yuling will fight against Lin Dong and Lu Yan. The referee's voice sounded. Xiaozan looked strange, but he didn't expect to face Lin Dong in the first game. Walking onto the competition stage, he looked at Lin Dong with a playful expression. We agreed to make a date for a year, but we didn't expect it to happen within a month. Lin Dong saw Xiaozan smile and shuddered unconsciously. During this week of watching the battle, he clearly saw Xiaozan's strength. No matter who the opponent is, it's all a matter of one sickle. Before, he even said harshly that he would compete with Xiaozan in a year's time, but now the hatred is gone with Zhang Shen'er, and his strength is not on the same level. Beat. And a spanking. Referee, I surrender. Lin Dong immediately admitted defeat without saying a word. Xiaozan was stunned. Would he really become sober without Zhang Shen'er's support? Are you sure, Lin Dong? The referee asked. Yes, I'm sure. I give up. Lin Dong said firmly. After saying that, he turned to look at Xiaozan, with a hint of heroic entrustment. Xiaozan, I will give this opportunity to you. Go on with my anger. Remember, don't let that woman be too arrogant. Let her know that there will be no good end for those who are unjust for profit. He said this as if he could defeat Xiaozan. After saying that, Lin Dong turned around and glared at Zhang Shen'er, then strode off the stage. In fact, if Zhang Xiaoan communicated well with him, Lin Dong would not be so angry. I was just angry because Zhang Xiaoan was so indifferent and showed no respect at all, so she just terminated the contract. In an equal contract, although there is equality, there must also be a spirit of contract. In this battle, Xiaozan and Yuling win. Following the referee's announcement, Xiaozan and Yuling also walked off the competition stage. The semi-finals were not competed together, but one after another. After Xiaozan finished, it was the turn of the other 6 groups of students to compete. Among the 6 groups of students, 3 groups of students have SS level talents as spiritual masters and weapon spirits, and their strength has also reached the level of first level spiritual masters. He is the favorite to win the championship. The remaining 3 groups are the same as Jiao Long, Zhang Shen'er, 1 SS level and 1 S level. Not favored. The battle begins. First, 2 groups of SS level students fought. The 2 groups of students had the same talent, and there was not much difference in strength, so the fight was back and forth. In the end, both sides were exhausted and both suffered considerable injuries, and then the winner was determined. It's just that the game is so difficult, I'm afraid tomorrow's semi-finals will be affected. Then the SS level group fights with another group that is slightly less talented. Not surprisingly, the group with better talent won. Xiaozan was watching the battle in the audience, and Yuling next to him looked at the victorious side and introduced. This Chen Shun's innate blood skill is teleportation, and his weapon spirit Susan is a wave sword. Its attribute is that it can achieve the effect of invisibility through the control of the refraction of light. If we are against them, we need to pay attention. Xiaozan nodded and his eyes focused on the wave sword in Chen Shun's hand for a few seconds. This is one of their threats. Chen Shun seemed to feel Xiaozan's gaze, looked towards Xiaozan, smiled contemptuously, and then made a gesture of wiping his neck. This Chen Shun is very arrogant. Xiaozan was stunned, his actions were too arrogant. Is he so confident in his own strength? Shaked his head. We'll know then. The final showdown between the two groups of students was between Jiao Long and Zhang Xiaoner and a group of players with the same talent mix as them. Everyone thought that this was also a hearty battle, but they didn't expect that Jiao Long won the game in just a few rounds. To everyone's surprise, however, Xiaoan knew that this was expected, because Jiao Long and Zhang Xiaoner had broken through to the first-level spiritual masters, while their opponents had not broken through. It is normal to be easily defeated. In this way, today's game is over. The top 4 were also produced. They are Xiaoan's group, Jiao Long's group, Chen Shun's group, and another group with double SS talents. Everyone dispersed, talking about who was first. Soon, the next day came and the top 4 began to compete. After drawing lots, Xiaoan was still the first to fight, and his opponent was the one with double SS talents. The man's name is Ma Shu, and he is the twin brother of Ma Li, whom Xiaoan defeated before. The woman's name is Lu Yan, and her weapon spirit form is a fire-tipped spear. Perhaps because he knew how powerful Xiaoan was from his younger brother Ma Li, Ma Shu looked at Xiaoan with a more serious look, not as contemptuous of Xiaoan as Chen Shun. If you think about it from another angle, if someone who can enter the semifinals has no strength at all, how can it be possible? With the referee's order, the battle officially began. Please enlighten me. Ma Shu held the gun with both hands and slashed down, assuming a fighting posture. Xiaoan didn't dare to be careless. Although both of them were first-grade spiritual masters, and his talent was even higher, he had a certain advantage. But don't forget, Xiaoan's innate bloodline has no bonus. Fighting with anyone is equivalent to missing an innate skill. Moreover, Yulong's innate skills are also biased toward support and have no attack power bonus. Therefore, although Xiaoan is confident, his mentality is very stable. He held the death scythe tightly in his hand, and the black air was burning like a flame. Judging from the momentum alone, the death scythe is going to throw the flaming spear for more than a dozen streets. This is the difference in levels. Ma Shu felt a strong aura of death from Xiaoan, and he was a little envious, because that aura was unique to the life and death contract. He wouldn't be able to possess the attributes of a fire-pointed spear. Shaking away the random thoughts in his mind, holding his breath and concentrating, with a loud shout, Ma Shu took the lead in launching the attack. Quickly approaching, the tip of the spear pierced Xiaoan's face. As the saying goes, 1 inch is longer and 1 inch is stronger. The length of the fire spear is no shorter than the death scythe. Therefore, it is unrealistic for both sides to rely on the length of the weapon to win. Facing this sharp shot, Xiaoan looked calm, stepped back and turned his head, easily dodging the stab. With the double bonus of perception, skill, he can easily make evasive actions in advance. This is the benefit of the life and death contract. However, Ma Shu is also experienced in combat. After Xiaoan dodged the direct thrust, he took advantage of the situation and hit the head with a sweep. Xiaoan immediately bent down and dodged the blow. At the same time, the death scythe spun behind him and swept away at Ma Shu's waist. Ma Shu was unprepared, but he reacted very quickly. He bent forward nearly 180 degrees and shifted his center of gravity backward, narrowly dodging the blade of the magic sickle. A chill ran down his spine, as the death aura on the magic scythe passed close to his waist. It was obviously not warm, but it was more penetrating than the ice aura. He couldn't imagine what would happen if he was stabbed. After avoiding it, he immediately regrouped and launched another attack. But Xiaoan was one step ahead of him, and a series of moves followed one after another. I saw Xiaoan holding the sickle in both hands, with a hand flower behind his back. After spinning in a circle, he raised it high above his head and chopped it down. Ma Shu didn't dare to be careless, and immediately held the gun with both hands to block horizontally. Ding! The death sickle struck the fire-tipped spear, and the power poured out. Ma Shu's arm suddenly bent, and his face twisted. Obviously, he couldn't resist this powerful force. With a thud, he knelt down on one knee. His face was red, and the veins on his neck were bulging, but he didn't dare to let go. Xiaoan took the opportunity to kick out, hitting him in the chest, helping him to resolve the attack, but at the same time, the kick also kicked him away more than 10 meters. Ma Shu was shot out like a football, fell to the ground and rolled several times before he could stop. He felt as if his chest was hit by a boulder, and he almost couldn't breathe, and his face suddenly turned pale. Fortunately, he did not fall under the competition ring. This Xiaoan pretends to be a pig and eats the tiger. He definitely has the strength of a first-grade spiritual master. Ma Shu's expression was extremely solemn. He thought he had already thought highly of Xiaoan, but he didn't expect that he still underestimated him. He endured the pain and stood up. He shook the fire-pointed gun in his hand, and the red gun tassel suddenly shot out and turned into a ball of burning flames. Ma Shu's momentum also increased a bit at this moment. That should be Lu Yan's innate skill, Lai Yan. Yuling reminded Xiaoan in the consciousness space. Xiaoan also stared at the flame, showing a trace of dignity. Xiaoan, take the move. Facing a strong enemy, the best defense is to attack. Ma Shu rushed forward, the tip of his spear blazing with flames and piercing towards Xiaoan's face again. The same move, but this time Xiaoan did not choose to dodge, but waved the scythe in his hand to face the collision. The two forces collided instantly. The flames on the fire-tipped gun suddenly moved and burned twice, forming a larger flame, like a flaming lion, opening its mouth to devour the death scythe. Xiaoan's power spurred on. When the death scythe was about to be swallowed up by the flames, a thick black flame spurted out from the demon scythe. The aura was so strong and the attack was so fierce, it was like compressed air suddenly bursting out. It directly extinguished the flaming lion of the fire-point spear, and its overbearing power invaded and directly swallowed the fire-point spear in reverse. The flame on the fire-tipped gun was extinguished instantly. Before Ma Shu could react, the flame was completely swallowed up. Moreover, the rich aura of death was like gangrene attached to the bones, spiraling up and turning into a snake of death, wrapping around the body of the gun and eroding away from the tip of the gun towards Ma Shu step by step. Ma Shu's face was horrified. Although the aura of death only temporarily enveloped the fire-tip spear, the spiritual master and the weapon spirit had entered into a contract, and there was a contract space as an intermediary, so Ma Shu could feel the deathly silence of the aura of death. It was a feeling of life passing away. He frantically activated the control energy in his body, trying to rekindle the flames of the fire-tip spear to counter the death energy. But the aura of death is too strong. This is not only the quality difference brought by the level of the weapon spirit, but also the shared bonus of the life and death contract. Therefore, no matter how much he activated his control energy, the flames of the fire-tip spear showed no signs of rekindling. His fear intensified again. If a spiritual master loses his weapon spirit, his combat effectiveness will be greatly weakened, and he will be almost unable to fight anymore. Therefore, at this moment, he had no choice but to keep activating his chi to break away from the erosion without any reservations. Xiaoan seized the opportunity and swept Ma Shu to the ground with a scythe backhand, and then kicked him in the stomach with a football, causing him to curl up instantly. The magic sickle waved, and a victorious cry passed through the air, pointing directly at his head. "You lose." 3 plain words came out of Xiaoan's mouth. Ma Shu's face was twisted in pain. He really didn't want to give in, but the severe pain in his body and mind made him unable to resist any longer. Bang! I lost. He punched the ground fiercely, very unwillingly. Seeing him admitting defeat, Xiaoan immediately withdrew the aura of death that was eroding him, and the death scythe transformed into Yuling, standing beside him handsomely. The victor's attitude is evident. In this battle, Xiaoan and Yuling win. The referee also announced immediately. The audience burst into cheers and surprise. What cheers is that Xiaoan has won? Surprised that Xiaoan actually won. Are you still sure you can beat him now? Zhang Shen'er, who was watching from beginning to end in the waiting room, couldn't help but ask Jiao Long. Jiao Long looked ugly at the moment. Xiaoan's strength was beyond his expectation. His own strength is about the same as Ma Shu and the others. If they were to face each other, he was confident that he could defeat Ma Shu, but he asked himself that he couldn't do it as easily as Xiaoan. But this Xiaoan, after winning the battle, his face was almost red and his heart was not beating. Apart from the fact that his Yu-Chi was a little depleted, there was nothing else. And the most important thing is that he didn't even see the use of blood skills. He clenched his fists. However, soon, his expression became relaxed again, and a hint of sinisterness flashed deep in his eyes. Who said I can't beat him? Did you see me fighting with him? No, that's it. Jiao Long sneered. You haven't made a decision yet. Do you know you can't win? Zhang Shen'er knew Jiao Long's strength, but at this time, he could still say such confident words. Suddenly he blinked curiously. Just as he was about to ask a question, the referee's voice sounded, "The second game, Jiao Long and Zhang Shen'er versus Chen Shun and Wu Qi. Let's go, it's our turn." Jiao Long stood up. Zhang Shen'er didn't ask any more questions. Then the two people walked onto the competition stage. Chen Shun and Wu Qi took the stage first, and they both knew each other. Chen Shun looked at Jiao Long with the same eyes as when he looked at Xiaoan, full of disdain. Obviously, in his eyes, everyone here is rubbish. Jiao Long, just admit defeat and don't waste my time. With the strength of the two of you, you can't beat me. Chen Shun said very conceitedly. His record is also very dazzling. In every game, his opponents can hardly make 3 moves. There were so many people in the audience, and the only one who could show off more pretentiously than him was Xiaoan. All in 1 move. Therefore, Chen Shun's real target is Xiaoan. Okay, I admit defeat. Jiao Long suddenly said cooperatively. Chen Shun was stunned. He just made a casual opening statement. Did Jiao Long take it seriously? There was no reaction at once. But soon, he knew that Jiao Long was deliberately making fun of himself. Give up. Does he know that Jiao Long wants to win more than anyone else? Run the Yuqi and prepare for a fight with Jiao Long. But at this moment, Jiao Long suddenly turned to the referee and said, "Referee, I admit defeat." Give up. Before the referee could react, the students in the audience started to argue first. Admit defeat. Is this a joke? Why would he admit defeat? That's right, his talent is not weak either, except for Zhang Shen'er, who is a little bit worse, but it's not like he can't beat him. Even if you know you can't beat it, you still have to give it a try. We're already in the semi-finals, so there's no need. Everyone suspected that Jiao Long was joking. The referee was obviously caught off guard by his words. He looked at Jiao Long and confirmed, "Are you sure you want to admit defeat?" "Yes, I surrender." Jiao Long's tone was calm, and there was no hint that he was joking. The referee frowned slightly. He didn't expect someone to admit defeat in the semi-finals. But he didn't say anything. It didn't matter to him whether he admitted defeat or not. He immediately announced, "This match, Chen Shun and Wu Qi win." Following the referee's decision, the discussion among the audience and students became more heated. "What are you doing? I really gave up. I thought I could see another bloody fight. It's boring, it's just a waste of time. Isn't this insider trading? Xiaoan won't admit defeat tomorrow, right?" Jiao Long's reaction was really surprising. Not only did Chen Shun fail to react, but even Zhang Xiaoner from the same camp was in a state of confusion. "Are you serious? Don't you want to be number 1? Your purpose was very clear when you came to me." Jiao Long smiled and said, "Don't worry, I won't be so stupid as to let you get so many elixirs for nothing without getting any benefits." "Then what do you mean by doing this? You'll find out soon enough." Jiao Long didn't want to explain and walked straight towards the competition stage. Zhang Shen'er became more and more confused, but looking at his confident back, she could only follow him silently. On the other side of the audience, Lin Dong looked at Xiaoan with suspicion. Why did Jiao Long and the others admit defeat? His purpose of poaching Zhang Shen'er was to deliberately disgust you, but now they have given up. Xiaoan couldn't understand either, but he wouldn't worry so much. It's other people's business to admit defeat and it has nothing to do with him. It's not like he had to slap Zhang Shen'er in the face. Okay, today's game is over, the finals will be held tomorrow. Wait, just when the referee made the announcement, Chen Shun's voice suddenly sounded. He was still standing on the competition stage and did not get off. Hearing his voice, the students stopped leaving and looked back to see what he was going to do. The referee also asked, "Chen Shun, what can you do?" Chen Shun first saluted respectfully, and then said, "Teacher referee, it's still early today. I think it's better to advance tomorrow's final to today. Anyway, Xiaoan and I are in good condition, so it doesn't affect fairness, and this can also help the college saves a lot of resources and time. What do you think?" Upon hearing this proposal, the referee would reject it without thinking. Because this is the rule of the academy and cannot be controlled by him as a referee. Telling him will have no effect. But at this moment, Vice President Wang Qian, who was sitting on the rostrum, suddenly said, "I think it is feasible, but I have to ask Xiaoan about this." He has just experienced a battle and must have been exhausted. It depends on his intention whether to do it in advance. Chen Shun didn't expect Wang Qian to give face like this, so he immediately looked at Xiaozan. Xiaozan, what do you think? I can give you enough time to recover. This day is coming anyway, so why not make a break as soon as possible now? Xiaozan has actually almost recovered after adjusting his breath just now. He looked at Yuling and asked her opinion. After all, the two of them were one. Yuling thought for a while and nodded. I think it's okay. It can end as soon as possible, and you can also enter the secret realm to practice early. Xiaozan also had the same idea. If he comes into contact with the secret realm one day earlier, his strength will improve faster. So he said to Vice President Wang Qian, we have no problem, we can advance to the finals. Wang Qian said, okay, since you don't have any objections, let's go ahead. So, the referee stepped down, and Xiaozan and Yuling stepped onto the competition stage again. Chen Shun looked at the two of them, with blazing fire burning in his eyes, but this fire was disdainful. Xiaozan, you are quite brave. In this case, don't say I bully you, I will give you another half an hour to recover. Quote. No need, I've recovered. Okay, in that case, don't blame me for being rude. After Chen Shun finished speaking, Wu Qi turned into a 3-foot sword and appeared in his hand. The blade of this sword is as thin as a cicada's wing and is truly translucent, but the blade is very straight without any bends. The cold white light, under the sunlight, seems to blend perfectly with the surrounding environment, and no shape of the sword can be seen. This is the wave light sword. Fusion with light becomes an invisible sword. Unexpectedly, as soon as Chen Shun came up, he immediately enlarged his moves. It seemed that he really wanted to resolve the battle quickly. Xiaozan stood ready, holding the death scythe in his hand. The wave light sword is difficult to defend against, and combined with Chen Shun's teleportation talent, it is even more difficult to parry. Xiaozan knew that this was a battle that could not go wrong. Once the opportunity was seized, it would be the collapse of 1,000-mile ant nest. Which one of them do you think will win? Zhang Shen'er couldn't help but ask Jiao Long in the audience. Jiao Long stared at the two people above him, but said nonchalantly, I don't care who wins, anyway, I will win in the end. Zhang Xiaoner was very puzzled. Why was Jiao Long still so confident at this time? He himself has already surrendered and admitted defeat. Not far away, Lin Dong stared at Zhang Xiaoner fiercely. Smelly idiot, you must admit defeat quickly, otherwise Xiaozan will beat you all over the place. Not seeing Zhang Xiaoner deflated, Lin Dong felt extremely unhappy. Xiaozan, come on. Get first and beat them all. Lin Dong had nowhere to vent his anger, so he shouted towards the competition stage. Even if he couldn't defeat Zhang Shen'er, if Xiaozan won the first place, it would still be a slap in Zhang Shen'er's face. As long as it's a slap in the face, that's cool. On the fighting stage, Xiaozan gathered his energy and held the death scythe tightly. The black air on the scythe was like a life-killing blade from hell. Coupled with Xiaozan's cold and murderous temperament, he really looked like the death judge who walked out of hell. What a handsome chicken. This is what most students think in their minds. No man can resist this domineering weapon, and if he can, it means he is not man enough. Again, when it comes to appearance and momentum, the death scythe ranks second, and no one dares to say it ranks first. Suddenly, the two of them moved. Almost at the same time, the two launched attacks and rushed towards each other. From the audience seat, he looked ordinary and didn't even seem to be holding a weapon. A menacing evil, like a rampaging evil, destroying all obstacles on the road. Welcome, Chen Shun shouted loudly, his eyes full of fighting spirit. As he got closer, he flipped his wrist and stabbed straight out with the wave sword. Xiaozan Demon's scythe also swung and made precise contact with the wave light sword. Ding! The two weapon spirits were intertwined. When they first collided, strong sparks were created. Both Xiaozan and Chen Shun could clearly feel the power coming from each other. However, Chen Shun frowned because he found that Xiaozan's power exceeded him. And with the combination of the talent advantages of the SSS level weapon spirits, this first collision was at a disadvantage. Instantly separate. Chen Shun had a ruthless look in his eyes, secretly increased the circulation of Yuzichi, and immediately rushed forward again. Xiaozan also had a preliminary understanding of his strength, so he did not retreat and chose to fight head-on with him. With his talent and weapon spirit overwhelming him in all aspects, Xiaoan had no reason to choose defense. Ding ding ding. The sound of fighting continued, and the black magic sickle clashed with the invisible longsword, making a clear and sweet sound. Both of them were very fast, and their movements were clean and neat. They changed their body shapes and went back and forth to attack and defend. In just a few seconds, the two of them had already fought for several rounds, as if they were going to have a long-lasting fight. The audience and students watching below were filled with excitement. As expected of the finals, it looks so enjoyable. This Xiaoan is quite capable. He actually fought back and forth with Chen Shun. He is not as useless as the information says. I'm a little unsure about the outcome of this game. I thought Chen Shun would definitely win before, but now the two sides are evenly matched and it's a bit difficult to judge. Most of the students, after seeing this scene, thought that there was not much difference in strength between the two sides and it should be a protracted battle. But some people with a little bit of vision could already see some clues at this moment. That is, although the fight between Chen Shun and Xiaoan was fierce on the martial arts stage, it was actually Chen Shun who was suppressed and beaten by Xiaoan. One has passive unlimited defense, and the other has active violent attack. Not of the same nature at all. During the battle, Chen Shun's face muscles were tense and his teeth were clenched, not daring to be careless in the slightest. Xiaoan's strength was already beyond his expectation. He was fast, powerful, and his attacks were swift and violent. He was like a torrent of waves, one after another. He was exhausted and had no chance to breathe. Moreover, Xiaoan's death scythe is very overbearing and tends to be more powerful. His wave-light sword has weak attributes. If he confronts it head-on, he will be even worse. If this continues, he will definitely lose. Sure enough, this Xiaoan is not as simple as the trash on the surface, and Yuling will not contract a trash as a contract partner. There will be no waste in Beatty Yuling Academy. Suddenly, Chen Shun seized an opportunity and used his sword to remove Xiaoan's attack. Then he flashed and was several meters away, creating a safe distance from Xiaoan. Xiaoan, you really hide it well enough. Chen Shun looked at Xiaoan with a serious tone. But his eyes still showed the contempt from the beginning. Seeing him suddenly appear a few meters away, Xiaoan knew that this guy had used the innate skill of teleportation. This move is indeed a bit cheating. I have never hidden it, you just didn't find it. Xiaoan didn't like nonsense, so he raised the death scythe and charged forward again. Seeing him rushing towards him, Chen Shun stared at Xiaoan, having already made a battle decision in his heart. It is not advisable to go head-to-head with Xiaoan. You have to use your own advantages to win. So he immediately adopted a roundabout strategy. The imperial energy in his body activated, and the wave-light sword made a sword cry. Then everyone saw that the long sword in his hand became more and more transparent, and finally seemed to disappear out of thin air. This is the innate blood skill of the wave-light sword, light transformation. I've seen him perform this move before. There was no trace of this move and it was impossible to detect. He faced an S-level opponent at that time and defeated the opponent with just one move. This innate skill is a bit abnormal. How can I fight without even seeing the weapon? Xiaoan is probably in trouble now. Everyone was amazed and envious, feeling that Xiaoan would definitely lose this time. Before the wave sword's innate skills were used, its translucent appearance was already a bit difficult to capture. The approximate position could only be determined by using the separation layer produced by the sword when it was swung with the air. But now, with the movements of Chen Shun's hands, no one could find any trace of him. I'm afraid that even if Chen Shun puts his sword on their necks, they won't be able to feel it. A little bit of Lao Lu's innate skills. At this moment, Xiaoan couldn't help but look serious. Looking at the wave sword that completely merged with the air, he knew that this guy was about to get serious. But he didn't flinch, and still rushed forward unwaveringly. Chen Shun did not show any weakness. He no longer passively chose to defend, but also used an offensive method to meet him. Although Xiaoan's strength made him wary, it did not affect his fighting mentality. The initial contempt still flashed in his eyes. Strategically despise the enemy, tactically pay attention to the enemy. This is his attitude. When the two came into contact, Xiaoan's power still overwhelmed him. But with the change of the second move, Xiaoan's attack was no longer as arbitrary as it was at the beginning. Because he couldn't see the wave sword in Chen Shun's hand, Xiaozan could only determine the trajectory of the wave sword based on the posture of his hand holding the sword. However, this judgment is biased, not only in the length of the sword, but also in the angle of attack and defense. This resulted in Xiaozan being unable to make precise attacks. At the same time, he was unable to perfectly block Chen Shun's attacks, and there were always some deviations. This situation was fine at first, but with successive contacts, Xiaozan's original suppressive advantage due to his own attributes gradually disappeared. Even later, his offense completely disappeared and turned directly into passive defense. And the key is that his defense is still very awkward and cannot achieve a real defensive effect at all. The attack turned into a retreat, and the situation was suddenly reversed. With comparison, those students who could not understand the situation before now also discovered the advantages and disadvantages. Seeing this, Chen Shun showed a hint of pride on his face. With such a stealthy attack method, he was invincible, and no one could catch him for more than a few rounds. Xiaozan's strength is not as strong as the others, but he believes that he will soon be killed by him. He immediately increased the frequency of his attacks, and his attack angles became even more tricky. Xiaozan's defense became even more embarrassed under this strong attack, and there were even faint signs of collapse of his defense line. The smile on Chen Shun's face grew stronger and he continued to attack fiercely. Xiaozan was about to be taken down by him. However, as he continued to attack, he discovered something was wrong. Especially after 2 or 3 minutes of continuous attacks, this feeling of something wrong became more and more obvious. He discovered that no matter how sharp or tricky his attacks were, Xiaozan could always block his attacks and avoid complete collapse. Maybe it was a little embarrassing, maybe it was a little dangerous, but Xiaozan really blocked it. Although Chen Shun was fierce, he was never able to cause substantial damage to Xiaozan. The smile on his face became a little heavy. At this time, half of his yuqi had been consumed. If he continued like this, he might be consumed to death by Xiaozan. He looked at Xiaozan with admiration. An invisible sword can block every move. This Xiaozan is really not easy. Everyone in the audience held their breath at this moment, and even Lindong, who had been cheering Xiaozan up, stopped shouting. They originally thought that Xiaozan would be defeated after Chen Shun used his skills. Even if he could persist, he could only sustain 2 moves at most. However, they never expected that Xiaozan would block it. And the more they watched, the more frightened they became. Xiaozan not only blocked it, but also blocked every subsequent sword strike. Oh my god, this is incredible. They couldn't even see a hair on the sword. How could Xiaozan be so accurate and block every sword? Is he cheating? Jiao Long stood in the audience with a solemn expression and couldn't help but murmur, Xiaozan, Xiaozan, your strength is really beyond my expectation. But it's a pity that you can't win first place just by strength. Quote. Jiao Long had a cruel look in his eyes. On the stage, Chen Shun said while attacking. Xiaozan, you are worthy of being chosen by Yuling. Your strength is indeed beyond my expectation, but if you only know how to defend, you can't beat me. After saying that, he saw his body shape change and his offensive change. He no longer chose continuous strong and fast attacks, but used body skills and various feints to interfere with Xiaozan's defense. Then look for opportunities to launch a surprise attack. In this way, he can effectively save his imperial power, and at the same time, it can also cause psychological oppression to Xiaozan. If he is surrounded but not attacked, Xiaozan's psychological defense will collapse, and the movements of his hands will naturally be affected. At that time, it was Chen Shun who decided the world in one fell swoop. Sure enough, with his change, the effect was immediate. Since Chen Shun couldn't see the weapon clearly, Chen Shun's feints became more illusory, and Xiaozan's defense was neither on guard nor off guard. In an instant, his defense became even more chaotic. Chen Shun also became proud again and used his skills one after another, causing Xiaozan to become confused. At this moment, Chen Shun's eyes flashed. It's now. He seized an opportunity when Xiaozan was in a defensive gap. Turning his right wrist, he found the right angle and struck with the wave sword. At this time, Xiaozan's flaw had appeared, and Chen Shun's timing to seize the opportunity was very precise. Xiaozan's hands were panicked, and it was too late to use the weapon spirit to block, so he could only choose to use his body to avoid this move. And just as he turned sideways, the glint in Chen Shun's eyes suddenly turned into cunning. I saw that while he was stabbing with his right hand, his left hand was also stabbing Xiaozan's chest silently. What's even more shocking is that his left hand is actually holding a sword at the moment, while his right hand is just an ordinary empty grip. Judging from the strength and muscle deformation of the two hands, it is obvious that only the left hand has a sword, and the right hand does not have a sword. The plank road is built openly, but Chen Kang is buried secretly. He actually changed the wave sword to his left hand. The most important thing is that no one noticed it. At this moment, Xiaozan was concentrating on avoiding the attack from the left side. He was in a state where his old strength was not exhausted and new strength was not yet generated. Therefore, it was almost impossible for him to avoid Chen Shun's attack from Chen Kang, who was building the plank road openly. Even if the brain reacts, the body movements cannot. Chen Shun's face already showed a look of victory. As long as this sword hits Xiaozan, Xiaozan's defense will be completely broken and he will be at his mercy. The blade is sharp and has an icy feel to it. He was about to stab Xiaozan, but at this moment, Xiaozan, who was avoiding sideways, suddenly made a strange move. Without looking, he kicked sideways and hit the hidden wave sword directly and accurately. Boom! The wave sword was bounced away. Chen Shun's perfect attack was so easily resolved. Chen Shun's face was full of shock, and his eyes were full of disbelief. How can this be? How did Xiaozan see the sword in his hand? This is not the right hand, but the left hand. Moreover, how did he react? You must know that the state he was in just now was in an uncontrollable state. The old strength was not exhausted and the new strength was not born. In this case, there is no second borrowing point. Even if the brain reacts, the body cannot make any movements. How on earth did he do it? Wait, unless he knew it from the beginning. Chen Shun's eyes were like torches and he shot towards Xiaozan. Sure enough, he saw a trace of amusement on Xiaozan's face, and the panic he had before was gone. Especially when I found myself looking at him, he looked like he had succeeded. He's actually faking it. Chen Shun vomited blood, and Xiaozan actually treated himself like a monkey. The embarrassment he showed before was all just an act. What is his strength? He can actually ignore his own wave sword. Just as Chen Shun was stunned, the death scythe in Xiaozan's hand immediately swung out at this moment, and the sickle blade came straight through Chen Shun's chest with a wailing sound. Chen Shun was shocked and came to his senses, and quickly tried to avoid it, but unfortunately he was a step too late, and the death scythe hit his chest steadily. Bang! My chest felt like a boulder hitting me. Intense pain accompanied by the weightlessness of his body, Chen Shun was thrown directly to the ground by the magic sickle and slid for 20 or 30 meters before he could stop. When he stopped, he spat out a mouthful of blood and looked at his chest again. Several ribs were broken and a piece of them was dented. Xiaozan seized this good opportunity and rushed directly in front of him, pressing the blade of the death scythe against his head. You lose. If it was an enemy, Xiaozan would just cut off his head. But this is a competition, so just beat him. Chen Shun looked at Xiaozan angrily, the contempt in his eyes not diminishing, and sneered, I lost. It's not the last moment yet, it's not certain who will lose. Before he finished speaking, Chen Shun suddenly disappeared in front of Xiaozan. The speed is so fast that no one has a chance to react. Then, an icy cold air came from Xiaozan's back. It was Chen Shun who teleported behind Xiaozan, and he stabbed Xiaozan mercilessly with his sword. Teleport. Xiaozan's eyes jumped, but then a playful smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. He stood still, waiting for Chen Shun to approach. He suddenly launched an attack, swung the death scythe in his hand, pulled out a huge black arc in the air, and hit Chen Shun who was stabbing him. Shun. Bang. With no doubt of accuracy, the magic sickle hit Chen Shun's body firmly. Boom. Chen Shun was thrown away like a cannonball and fell heavily to the ground. Vomiting a mouthful of blood again. My body struggled to get up, but it was as limp as a dead dog and couldn't muster any energy. Even because of the violent struggle, blood continued to flow from his mouth, and he vomited it out one after another. It looked miserable. Obviously, Xiaozan's blow caused huge damage to him. This scene shocked the whole audience. Quiet, not even a breath. Time seems to have frozen at this moment. It wasn't until a group of doctors rushed onto the stage that everyone came back to their senses. What the hell happened? Chen Shun was almost beaten to death by Xiao Zhanyi's sickle. How did he know where Chen Shun would appear? Isn't this Xiao Zhan too perverted? Look at his calm look just now, it's obvious that he expected Chen Shun's attack position. If he had used a sickle blade just now, I'm afraid Chen Shun would have been cut in two. Quote, "It's so powerful, so terrifying." One of them kept exclamating, and the look he looked at Xiao Zhan was full of shock and surprise. They never thought that this battle would end so quickly. They thought that there would be some fighting and going back and forth, and the sky was dark and the earth was dark. It was just too abrupt. The referee also saw that Chen Shun was unable to fight anymore. The wave sword had turned into Wu Qi again, lying on the ground witheringly, his pretty face pale. The battle has been decided. I declare that Xiao Zhan and Yuling will win in the final. After his verdict, everyone in the audience burst into strong cheers no matter what their mood was. No one likes to be strong. No one doesn't like strength. As long as they win, whether it is Chen Shun or Xiao Zhan, they will give them the warmest cheers. Xiao Zhan couldn't help but feel excited when he heard the cheers. In this way, he and Yuling achieved their first small goal since entering school. In the audience, Jiao Long had a sinister smile on his face. Humph, how arrogant you are now will make you so desperate later. After Chen Shun was briefly treated by the doctor, he was carried off. However, when passing by Xiao Zhan, Chen Shun endured the severe pain and asked unwillingly, Why? How did you know that I changed hands, and how did you know my location? Xiao Zhan did not hide it at this moment, and replied, it's very simple, because my weapon spirit's innate skill is perception, and with the double bonus of the life and death contract, her and I have reached the extreme in all aspects of perception. Your light sword's photochemical skills and your teleportation skills are useless to me. Chen Shun understood this explanation, but he was even more unwilling to do so. He didn't lose to Xiao Zhan, but to Xiao Zhan's innate skills. Perception, defeat him. But then, his reluctance disappeared and turned into helplessness and bitterness. When I am here with you, it's like I'm naked. You've seen it clearly for a long time. The embarrassment you showed is all playing with me. That's not the case. If your teleportation and actinization could be developed stronger, I wouldn't win so easily. At this stage, I can't say you are weak, only I am stronger. Xiao Zhan pretended to be cool. This is what a winner should have. Chen Shun almost spat out his old blood. He won when he won, and he still killed people with heartache. It was simply inhumane. When the doctor saw this, he also looked at Xiao Zhan reproachfully. Chen Shun's injury was not yet stable. What if it got worse if he was stimulated like this? He quickly carried him down. At this time, the referee walked next to Xiao Zhan, then looked at the people in the audience and announced, "This is the end of the knockout round of this freshman competition. Xiao Zhan and Yuling achieved the final victory. Next is the challenge competition. Those who think they have outstanding strength can challenge Xiao Zhan and Yuling. Each person is limited to one time. Chance." After saying that, the referee looked down to see if anyone came up to challenge. There was a calm smile on his face, because he knew in his heart that usually no one would come up to challenge him in this situation. Because this knockout competition is for the first place, and only the first place, rather than an ordinary competition where there is a top 3, top 10, etc. No matter who is number 1, he has climbed up step by step with his own hard power. Maybe someone was unlucky and was eliminated in the first few rounds of screening, but as long as you are eliminated, it proves that your strength is not as good as the opponent. Those with fair strength but unlucky ones may be able to get into the top few places, but they will definitely not get the first place. So almost no one will come to challenge. So when the referee asked this question, he was actually ready to declare Xiao Zhan the final champion. Sure enough, after he asked this question, no student wanted to challenge Xiao Zhan. Just kidding, although Xiao Zhan's talent is F level, his combat power is real. Even the most powerful Chen Shun was almost killed by him with a magic sickle. What qualifications do they have to challenge him? The referee also expected this, because it was almost always the case in previous years, so he was immediately ready to announce Xiao Zhan as the final champion. But at this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. "I want to challenge." A student jumped onto the competition stage, holding a long knife in his hand. Seeing him, the students looked a little confused and couldn't help but start talking. Isn't this Jiao Yu? What is he doing up here? No, he dares to go up to an A-level 1. What a challenge for him. Don't you know what his strength is? Isn't this just taking off his pants and lighting up, looking for death? The clown, I guess he came here to make his presence felt, and then he pretends to be cool, saying that he played against the number 1 freshman and unfortunately lost. Come down quickly, don't waste time. Someone with a bad temper yelled at him directly. How could a little A-level guy have the courage? Waste of everyone's time. The referee didn't expect that someone would actually challenge, and it was an A-level 1. A bit unexpected. Although there were others who challenged me in previous years, all of them were SS level and they were very confident in their own abilities. Why are you, a little A-level person, joining in the fun? Frowning, he asked, are you sure you want to challenge? Yes, I want to challenge. Jiao Yu spoke firmly, looking completely unafraid. But Xiaoan, who has super perception, could detect a hint of panic in Jiao Yu's eyes. He can't beat himself. Then why does he still challenge? Xiaoan drew a conclusion and a doubt from the panic in his eyes. The referee immediately had no choice but to agree, okay, then get ready. If someone challenges it, it must be carried out. As a referee, although he believed that Jiao Yu would lose, he could not stop others from challenging. Then he looked at Xiaoan again, do you want to take a rest? Need not. Xiaoan shook his head. In the battle with Chen Shun just now, although he had consumed nearly half of his imperial power, he still had enough to deal with a person who was not even a first-grade spiritual master and did not need to rest. Okay, let's get started. The referee immediately announced the start of the game. As his words fell, Jiao Yu directly picked up the long knife and slashed at Xiaoan without saying a word. The moves are very direct and contain the maximum power he can exert. It was obvious that he was not here to show off. Xiaoan mobilized his power, and faced this sword, he chose to take it hard. The demon sickle was so powerful that it slammed into Jiao Yu's sword. Buzz. The quality of the long knife was too low, and it made a sound when it was smashed. Jiao Yu's own strength was also weak, so he was hit by Xiaoan's blow and was knocked back more than 10 steps before he stopped. Xiaoan stood there without moving. With just one move, you can see the disparity in strength between the two. Jiao Yu felt the shock and pain in his hand, his expression became fierce, he gritted his teeth and slashed towards Xiaoan again. This time, the long knife glowed with cyan light. It seems that he has used his natural skills. Xiaoan's face was calm, his perception skills were activated, and he could clearly feel the power contained in this sword. Weak, still too weak. Even if he uses his innate skills, Xiaoan can still kill it easily. Holding the magic sickle tightly, this time, Xiaoan increased the use of his power. This meaningless battle should end as soon as possible. I saw a streak of black energy drawing an arc in the air, and then I saw Jiao Yu flying out with a knife, and fell heavily to the ground with a bang. This move directly caused Jiao Yu's breath to become disordered, his face turned red, and a trace of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. The knife in his hand was also thrown a few meters away. He was lying on the ground and struggled several times but failed to stand up. You lose. Xiaoan demon scythe pointed at him. He couldn't understand the meaning of Jiao Yu's challenge to him. The strength of the two of them is not at the same level at all, so there is no need to insist on it like this. But just when Xiaoan thought Jiao Yu was about to admit defeat, he clenched his teeth and stood up from the ground with difficulty. Lost. Didn't I admit defeat? After saying that, he grabbed the long knife on the ground and rushed towards Xiaoan again. However, his steps were frivolous and he seemed unable to hold the knife in his hand. How could he have any offensive power? Xiaoan frowned slightly. He was already in this state, and he still wanted to continue. Couldn't he see that he was showing mercy? Do you really want to die? Before he had time to think, Jiao Yu's attack had already come, and Xiaoan had to deal with it. Xiaoan raised the magic sickle and wanted to give him a hard blow, but seeing his condition, Xiaoan endured it. Because Jiao Yu was not in good condition now, Xiaoan was afraid that he would not be able to control himself well, so he would beat him to death here. This is a competition, not a battlefield. There is no need for Xiaoan to be so cruel, and the academy will not let him be so cruel. So, after the death scythe easily blocked his attack, Xiaoan kicked him out. This kick hit his chest and kicked him 7 or 8 meters away. This time, Xiaoan had already stopped, but Jiao Yu still felt uncomfortable. He was injured more and more. He spat out a mouthful of blood, staining a large area of his chest red. You shouldn't be able to get up now, right? Xiaoan thought. But what happened still made Xiaoan speechless, but Jiao Yu still struggled to stand up after spitting out a mouthful of blood. He wants to fight again. This scene immediately stunned everyone. What is he going to do? Xiaoan has been merciful, but he still wants to do it. Does this guy have a grudge? We're not on the same level, so we have to fight to the death. Xiaoan couldn't help but frown, and said solemnly, "You can't beat me, just admit defeat." But Jiao Yu seemed not to hear his words and insisted on standing up. He was trembling, vomiting blood, and his eyes were firm but without light, giving people the impression of a blind and aimless walking corpse. Looking at it like that, he really had to fight to the last moment. Xiaoan frowned deeply. What happened to him? I have no grievances against him, so why are I so desperate? Anyone else would have admitted defeat long ago. Why does he continue? He also knows that he can't beat him, right? Xiaoan couldn't understand at all. If he was an enemy of life and death, such behavior would be forgotten. But the key is, Xiaoan doesn't even know him. Yuling, I feel that this Jiao Yu is a bit strange. Xiaoan communicated with Yuling in consciousness. Yuling also replied solemnly, it is indeed strange. There is no hatred in Jiao Yu's eyes, but his attack is so cruel that it is difficult to understand. And he knew he couldn't beat us, so he continued to fight. Such behavior was so strange. He looked like he was accomplishing some purpose. Purpose? What kind of purpose do you think it will be? Xiaoan asked. I don't know, maybe we have offended this Jiao Yu invisibly. Xiaoan agreed with this answer. Offending someone is often invisible. You may not know him, but he may have a deep hatred for you. Jiao Yu trembled, but still walked towards Xiaoan with his knife. This scene made the students below very angry. Jiao Yu, what are you doing? It's not a life and death feud, is it? If you can't beat me, then leave it. There's no need to force yourself to hold on. Jiao Yu, are you crazy? You still fight when you were injured. Aren't you afraid of affecting your foundation? Almost everyone was shouting at Jiao Yu to stop. They all knew that this was a meaningless battle. Only Jiao Long looked at this scene with an indifferent smile on his lips. Jiao Yu, as a referee, I need to remind you that there is no need for you to continue. The referee also reminded at this moment. He could see that Jiao Yu was just trying to hold on and had no trump card at all. There is no need for this meaningless battle. But Jiao Yu just turned a deaf ear and just shouted loudly. With enough strength, the long knife in his hand was glowing with green light and struck towards Xiaoan again. Seeing this, Xiaoan's eyebrows turned cold. You have to fight, right? You really thought you didn't dare to make a fatal move, right? At this time, Xiaoan also felt a little angry. He didn't want to seriously hurt him because we were all classmates and there was no need. However, this does not qualify him to remain ignorant. He shot out without mercy and kicked him in the chest again. This kick is so powerful that you can even hear the sound of the bones in your chest breaking. Following this kick, Jiao Yu flew backwards like a cannonball, drew an arc in the air, and then fell heavily to the ground. Wow! Another mouthful of blood spat out, and his chest dented directly, and he immediately fainted. This time, he finally couldn't get up anymore. Medical staff rushed forward to treat him. Seeing this, although a trace of unbearability flashed on the referee's face, he also breathed a sigh of relief. At least the battle is over. I declare, Xiaoan, Yuling wins. Is there anything else you want to challenge? If not. Wait, the referee was about to finish his sentence in one breath, but unexpectedly he was interrupted again by a student. Holding a black wooden stick in his hand, this student jumped onto the competition stage, pointed at Xiaoan, and said very arrogantly, I don't obey him, I want to challenge him. His words made the atmosphere that had finally calmed down suddenly become lively again. This person is Wang Fei, isn't he also a level A? Why do you want to challenge him? That's right, can't he see Jiao Yu's fate? How dare you go up there and not be afraid of seeking death? I'm speechless. What the hell? SS level people haven't even come up to challenge them. How about these A level ones dancing so happily? There were question marks over everyone's heads. When Xiaoan saw another person coming up, and he was also an A level person, he couldn't help but ponder, and had a bad feeling. The referee's face was also a little ugly. Challenge it, after all, the rules stipulate that he can't stop it. But why don't you come up with someone with stronger strength? What the hell are you going to do with an A level? He could only ask emphatically, are you sure you want to challenge? Yes, I want to challenge. Wang Fei's attitude was as determined as Zhao Yu's. Okay then. The referee looked at Xiaoan, do you want to take a rest? Need not. Xiaoan shook his head indifferently. He already felt something was wrong, and it was time for him to verify it. Okay, let's get started, be careful. The referee's words were addressed not only to Wang Fei but also to Xiaoan. But obviously, neither of them listened. Ah! Wang Fei shouted loudly, held the stick in both hands, and used the wandering dragon detective move to stab Xiaoan in the face. Xiaoan's eyes were cold. At this moment, he activated his power and swept away his black wooden stick with a sickle. At the same time, a demon sickle circled around its back, spun 2.5 times, and hit Wang Fei's chest. Bang! After this blow, Xiaoan showed no mercy at all. Wang Fei was thrown out and fell to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood, which was very painful. Under normal circumstances, with this kind of injury, you can choose to admit defeat. But Wang Fei, like Zhao Yu, did not admit defeat, but endured the pain and got up again. Then he rushed towards Xiaoan again. Seeing this move, Xiaoan's guess was somewhat confirmed. Then, instead of showing mercy, he picked up the death scythe and hit him directly on the chest again. This time, Wang Fei collapsed on the ground like a dead dog. Completely lost mobility. Everyone was frightened by Xiaoan's decisive and sharp blow. They were all A-level challengers, so Xiaoan was quite polite to Zhao Yu. But he was a bit harsh towards Wang Fei, beating him into a dead dog. What does this mean? It means that the clay bodhisattva is also very angry. Xiaoan is really angry. Think about it, just challenge it, the rules are here, you are qualified to challenge. However, if you challenge me, show some strength. Not to mention SS level, you should go to S level anyway. What the hell is A level? Who are you looking down on? The medical staff carried Wang Fei down, and the female teacher responsible for the treatment looked at Xiaoan with a slightly resentful look. In just a moment, he was already beating him down. The workload has increased significantly. At this moment, Xiaoan's icy aura was released, looking down at the audience to see who else was going to challenge him. As a result, as soon as Wang Fei was carried down, another person jumped up, holding a pair of swords. This person is still A level. Xiaoan's face was solemn. As soon as one person got off, another one came in without any interruption. His guess seemed to be verified, and he was probably being targeted. And this person's appearance on stage also made everyone present frown. After A level comes A level again. Isn't the outcome clear enough? Why still go up? At this moment, even some very nervous students noticed something was wrong. Yuling, who do you think is instigating these people? Xiaoan asked from the consciousness space. Whoever challenges last is the one who instigated it. Xiaoan, it's true, but it's nonsense. Yuling said coldly, what we have to do is to beat down all those who dare to challenge. You're right. Xiaoan had a smile on his lips, but his aura became increasingly cold. If you want to do something to yourself, don't blame yourself for being rude. The referee also saw some clues. He asked the student in a cold voice, are you sure you want to challenge? Of course. The student replied. Then get ready and let's get started. After the referee gave the order, the student rushed towards Xiaoan. Xiaoan now knew that someone was plotting against him behind his back, so his men were not so merciful. Facing the double sword student's attack, he followed suit and knocked him away with just one move. On the spot, I couldn't get up. There should be no one to challenge you now, right? In the audience, some students were unsure. As a result, as soon as he finished speaking, another person jumped up. Everyone was shocked and looked over quickly. At this glance, his brows furrowed again, because this challenger is actually still A-level. At this time, many students were angry. What's going on? A-levels come one after another. It's endless, right? Get off here, don't waste time. This wheel battle is just to drain Xiaozan's power of control, and then the last person will reap the benefits. Some wise people saw the plan. This is not a conspiracy, this is a conspiracy. At this moment, the referee's face was also angry. The challenge was to give those powerful students a chance to win the championship again, not just for fun. This is obviously someone deliberately playing a trick to consume Xiaozan's imperial power. He glanced at Xiaozan and said, "Xiaozan, do you want to take a rest?" What looks like a question is actually a suggestion. But when he just said these words, the student who jumped onto the competition stage was unconvinced. "Referee teacher, this is a challenge match, how can there be any reason to rest? If he fights and rests one by one, there are so many students, how can it be difficult? Can't we let him rest until the Chinese New Year?" The referee was actually insulted and suddenly became angry. Just as he was about to speak, there was another eager echo from the audience, "That's right, what's the point of taking a rest? I'm still waiting to challenge." "Yes, I want to challenge it too. Start quickly, don't waste time, take a rest. Do we have any more challenges? Let's just celebrate the new year." There are actually quite a few people who agree. Xiaozan saw this scene with a sneer on his lips. He was now 100% sure that someone was playing tricks on him. This agitated scene suddenly made the referee choke and look extremely ugly. He didn't know what to say, because according to the rules of the challenge, it didn't say he couldn't rest, but he didn't say he could rest either. It's just that in past challenge matches, almost no one challenged them, and everyone had a clear understanding of their own strength. There has never been such a bad scene. But today, these people shamelessly stepped forward to challenge one by one. This was obviously someone behind the scenes. He wanted to help Xiaozan, but he didn't expect these students to be such thieves. For a moment, he didn't know what to do. But at this moment, Xiaozan suddenly spoke, "I don't need to rest, not even when dealing with a guy like you." The voice was unusually flat, so flat that it had no emotion. He seems to be easy to bully, but anyone who is familiar with Xiaozan knows that he is really angry at this moment. But the student didn't know, and instead sneered, "You sound so crazy, then I want to see how much of your imperial power you consume." After saying that, he launched an attack directly towards Xiaozan. When the female doctor in the audience saw this scene, she couldn't help but sigh, "Oh, get ready to work overtime." At the same time, in an office building in the distance, 3 middle-aged men were watching this scene through the glass, with different expressions on their faces. "Dean, should such behavior be stopped? Isn't this unfair to Xiaozan?" said a slightly blessed man among the 3. "Fair? When has our college ever been fair?" As soon as he finished speaking, a reddish-skinned man next to him retorted. After saying that, an unexpected surprise appeared on his face. "I don't know which kid came up with this wheel battle. He is as smart as I was back then. Come on, old Jiao, can this be considered smart? This is clearly taking advantage of a loophole in the rules. This is a shameful behavior," the blessed man said unceremoniously. Zhao Jiwu also blushed and became angry. "What's wrong with being shameless? As long as you can win, why do you care so much? When you reason with the monster, you will see whether it listens to the truth with its mouth or the truth with its fists." Zhu Rong, a blessed man, couldn't help but blush when he was scolded, but suddenly, as if he thought of something, he said in a strange way, "Yes, wheel fighting is smart, but it's a pity that someone used wheel fighting back then and ended up losing." To Yi Wuming. "What did you say? Lao Zhu, I warned you not to mention that guy's name to me." "I just mentioned it. What's wrong?" Zhao Jiwu narrowed his eyes slightly and his face gradually darkened. "Lao Zhu, I heard that you have developed a new skill. It seems that you are confident." Zhu Rong understood what he meant, and with the same restrained aura, he looked at him and said, "You want to fight, right? I'll accompany you. Let's go. Let's compete now. Just leave, no one is afraid of whom." But at this moment, the man who had remained silent among the 3 finally spoke. "Okay, they are all at the level of deputy dean. They are still the same as before. How decent are they?" As soon as the man opened his mouth, they were shocked. When Zhao Jiwu and Zhu Rong heard this, they immediately looked at each other, snorted coldly, and turned away. After a while, Zhu Rong couldn't help but turn to the man and asked, "Dean, do you want to stop the next game?" The dean, Zhang Wenfu, had a majestic face. He glanced at the competition stage, and then said calmly, "What's the point of stopping? Isn't that how Wuming came here at night? But there's nothing good about it. Stratagem is also part of strength. If someone is brave but not resourceful, he's just a reckless man. That's not the kind of person we need." "All right." The dean said this, so Zhu Rong could only compromise. But he couldn't help but mutter in his heart, Yi Wuming is also a reckless man. He has become a trump card. At this time, Zhao Jiwu next to him also sighed, this has not happened for many years. The protection of the high wall has allowed these young people to thrive, but it has also caused the rigidity of thinking. This new class of freshmen is quite interesting. Now I'm curious about who is behind the wheel battle. Zhu Rong gave him a look of disdain. You are not curious about who is behind it, you are curious about whether the one behind it will lose like you. You, it seems like your skin is really itchy. Zhao Jiwu gritted his teeth. The freshman competition of his year was the biggest shame in his life. Zhu Rong refused to open the pot and pick up the pot. Okay, stop arguing. Seeing that the two people were about to quarrel again, Zhang Wenfu couldn't help but said angrily. The two could only suppress their anger. Zhu Rong looked out the window again, watching Xiaoan being surrounded by wheel battles, and couldn't help but sigh, I just don't want to see a seedling buried. Zhang Wenfu said seriously, Beatty College never lacks seedlings, it only lacks seedlings that can grow into big trees. Hearing this, Zhu Rong thought of the cruel plan. Another deep sigh. On the fighting stage, facing the challenger's attack, Xiaoan stood there, holding the death scythe, looking extremely calm. But deep in his eyes, there was a hint of imperceptible cruelty. Want to consume me with wheel battles? Snort, you have the IQ, but it also depends on whether you have the courage. Xiaoan's eyes flashed fiercely, and his whole body exuded an extremely cold suffocation. Eyes locked, one-sided to avoid the challenging attack. Then he quickly waved the death scythe in his hand, using the powerful power of control to activate the aura of death that was as crazy and noisy as a ghost. The black energy was steaming, and the air was filled with cries and screams. Bang! In an instant, there was an explosion. The challenger's head suddenly exploded like a watermelon. The scarlet blood scattered into a rain of blood, and sticky pieces of meat flew in all directions, directly spreading all over the competition stage. Some even flew directly out of the field and landed on the faces of the students. Quiet, deathly silence. Everyone was dumbfounded by Xiaoan's harsh scene. They thought that Xiaoan would just beat the man down like before, but they didn't expect that Xiaoan would be so violent and kill him without any warning. Shocking, horrified, unbelievable. Various emotions are displayed on everyone's faces. Chapter 46. Ah! It wasn't until a girl's scream broke the deathly silence. When everyone came back to their senses, their first subconscious move was to step back, not daring to look at Xiaoan. Their eyes were full of fear, for fear that they would be implicated and suffer disaster. They never imagined that Xiaoan could kill someone. Still killing people in the academy. How dare he? The academy explicitly prohibits killing. In addition to the fear of these people, there are also some people who have a greater proportion of strange emotions. Especially Jiao Long. His eyes were fixed on Xiaoan. Contrary to the fear of others, Jiao Long's eyes were filled with excitement that could not be concealed. He thought to himself, Xiaoan, you really surprised me. You dared to violate the academy's prohibition and kill people in public. Should I admire your courage, or should I call you stupid? But you are good at killing. If you don't kill, I will still waste a lot of time and resources. Jiao Long's face was already happy. Although the person Xiao killed was from his Jiao family, he was very happy now. Because killing someone in the academy is a serious crime, Xiaoan violated the ban in person, which is even more serious. He will be taken away directly by the law enforcement team and face trial. And in this competition, Xiaoan, the apparent number one, was lost, so naturally he had to compete for another one. At this time, he, Jiao Long, is the only one who still has absolute fighting power. He's got his first place. Sure enough, Following Xiaoan's murder, a group of law enforcement teams rushed to the competition stage, surrounded Xiaoan, and wanted to take him away. Meanwhile, the dean's office. Look, it's okay now, it's going to cause big trouble. I told you to stop, but if you insist on continuing, not only will one of you die, but the other one will also be convicted. Zhu Rong said angrily. Zhao Jiwu and Zhang Wenfu did not expect that things would develop in such an unexpected way. A little confused, but soon, an appreciative laugh appeared on Zhao Jiwu's face. This guy has courage, I like him. When he knew that he was no match for the wheel battle, he directly acted ruthlessly, killed the chicken to scare the monkey, and stopped the wheel abruptly. Courage and wisdom coexist. That's right, just be cruel. Just chop off an arm or a leg or something. It will still stop the car behind you. In such a serious situation, Zhao Jiwu looked nonchalant. Not only did he turn a blind eye to the students' lives, but he also praised Xiao Zanqi. Zhu Rong was even more angry. Do you know what is happening now? Now a student has died, a human life has occurred. As the deputy dean, do you have this attitude? Otherwise, what's my attitude? Zhao Jiwu was pointed at and immediately asked with a straight face, if he dies, he dies. What can I do? I can't resurrect him. The logistics department will handle this kind of thing and provide compensation and comfort. They will do it. What do you want me to do? I kneel down and apologize. Hearing the cold attitude and indifferent tone, Zhu Rong simply added fuel to the fire. How can a cold-blooded person like you be qualified to be the vice dean? I don't even bother to be with you. You are worthy. You are worthy. You are worthy, right? The students you taught are all gentle and graceful, without any blood, and they will die on the battlefield. That's better than those cold-blooded animals you taught. The two of them were saying something to each other, and they were about to quarrel again. Zhang Wenfu finally spoke. Okay, can you two stop quarreling a few words a day? Every time you meet, you quarrel after less than a few words. People who don't know will think you are the fools. The dean's words were still very authoritative, and he silenced the two of them with just one sentence. Dean, what should we do now? Everyone is dead. Zhu Rong asked anxiously. Zhang Wenfu thought for a moment and said, the game continues. Continue. Will this situation continue? Aren't you afraid that Xiaoan will continue to kill people? Zhu Rong said in surprise. Hearing this, Zhao Jiwu couldn't help it anymore. You are stupid. Xiaoan dared to kill people. Do you think those people in the wheel battle still dare to join? This is not a life and death feud. No one does not cherish their own life. Although he was scolded, Zhu Rong calmed down a lot. There is nothing wrong with what Zhao Jiwu said. The reason why they dared to engage in a wheel battle against Xiaoan was because they knew that Xiaoan would not kill them under the protection of the Academy's ban. But now that this ban has been broken, his protection is gone, and naturally no one dares to provoke him. Zhang Wenfu looked at the death scythe in Xiaoan's hand and couldn't help but murmured, this boy has made a completely different choice than Yi Wuming. On the fighting stage, Xiaoan looked at the dead student. Although his face was extremely cold, there was also a trace of helplessness in his heart. Yutaki, are you sure we'll be fine if you kill him? In fact, Xiaoan didn't want to kill him. His original intention was to seriously injure him or break one of his arms or legs. But when he took action, Yuling insisted on killing him, and he still wanted to kill him in the simplest, roughest, and most shocking way. Because in Yuling's view, if you leave a way for others to survive, you are leaving a way for yourself to die. Rather than letting those guys think that breaking arms and legs is a fluke, it's better to kill their minds directly so that they don't have the guts to cause trouble. Xiaoan agreed with her idea, and this was indeed the best way to end the wheel battle. However, what he is more worried about is what kind of situation they will face after killing people. Don't worry, this academy is more unfair than we thought. Yuling's reassuring words came. Since she dares to kill people, it's not impulsive. Beatty Yuling Academy is a place that pays attention to strength. With strength comes privileges. She believes that they will get privileges based on the strength they show. Of course, even if she doesn't get the privilege, she, Yuling, is not afraid. With the power and status of the Yi family, killing someone in Beatty Yuling Academy will really not be affected. Xiaoan was actually just asking, not really worried about his situation. After all, He knew very well how powerful the Yi family, one of the 8 major families in the New World, had. Killing a person is a very serious consequence in the eyes of others. But for them, it doesn't hurt. The most they have to do is take care of the emotions of ordinary people. What he was really worried about was whether he could still enter the secret realm. This is where he and Yi Yutaki disagree. Xiaozan, you are suspected of intentional homicide and have violated the Academy's ban. Please cooperate with our investigation now. The captain of the law enforcement team was about to take Xiaozan away. Xiaozan said nothing and followed him very calmly. When Jiao Long saw this scene from below, his face almost burst into tears. Win without fighting. It went smoother than expected. But at this moment, a teacher suddenly ran over, came to the captain of the law enforcement team, and whispered a few words to him. After hearing this, the captain of the law enforcement team looked a little strange. He glanced at Xiaozan and finally let him go. Xiaozan felt relieved. As Yuling expected, someone came to intervene. After letting go, the teacher came to Xiaozan and said seriously, "You compete first, and the matter of killing will be dealt with after the competition is over, but you can't kill anymore now, this is the bottom line." The teacher said the last sentence very softly, and only Xiaozan could hear it. This can be regarded as help in disguise. But, no more killing. Xiaozan shook his head with a wry smile. It was not something Xiaozan could decide on his own. It all depended on what the hidden guy thought. If he continues to send people to fight, Xiaozan won't mind killing them all the way. If he chooses to give up or stand up for a final duel, Xiaozan won't mind letting him go. After all, his goal is only to be number 1. Xiaozan said to the teacher, "I didn't kill him on purpose, it was just an accident. Let's start by reducing the responsibility for killing someone, regardless of whether they kill someone or not. Whether it was an accident or not, you don't have to explain it to me, the college will make a judgment." The teacher obviously didn't accept this. Xiaozan didn't care, as long as he showed his attitude. Intentional homicide and homicide by mistake are 2 different crimes. When the time comes to really pursue the case, he can hold on to it. Then the teacher turned to the students and said, "Xiaozan has violated the ban by killing someone and will be punished. But the game is not over yet. In order to ensure the fairness of the game, the college decided to punish him after the game. Now the game continues." Quote. Hearing this, the students were a little surprised. They had already killed someone, and could they still continue the competition? Who the hell dares to challenge Xiaozan? Wouldn't it mean that the last one died? When Jiao Long heard this, the smile on his face disappeared in an instant, and he became extremely gloomy. He glanced in the direction of the office and said, "It must be those old guys protecting Xiaozan. If you kill someone and don't take him away, but let him keep him to continue the competition, isn't it obvious that you want Xiaozan to take first place? Under these circumstances, how many of those who are fighting on wheels dare to go up?" Jiao Long glanced at his younger brothers. Sure enough, these younger brothers dodged and did not dare to go up. Just kidding, going up there now is simply to risk your death, so only fools go there. What's more, they are just younger brothers, not dead soldiers. Jiao Long's eyes were cold. He had nothing to do if they didn't go up to him. He was wondering in his mind whether he should go up now. According to his plan, he must at least consume all of Xiaozan's imperial power before he can go up and achieve 100% victory. But the plan could not keep up with the change. At this moment, none of his younger brothers dared to go up. The only one he can rely on is himself. As for Xiaozan, who was standing on the martial arts stage at the moment, he just closed his eyes slightly to restore his strength. His next actions depended entirely on that guy's decision. Either he can't show fear, and Xiaozan will directly win. Either continue the wheel battle until Xiaozan can no longer kill him. Or go out in person and fight the final battle. Everything depends on how he chooses. The scene became quiet for a moment and lasted for about a minute. Just when everyone thought that no one would come out to challenge, Jiao Long jumped onto the competition stage holding a white snow lotus sword. Seeing him, the students exclaimed in surprise. Isn't this the Jiao Long who gave up in the semi-finals? Doesn't he still dare to challenge now? Isn't he afraid of death? You're stupid, you can't see it at this time. It's obvious that Jiao Long is the instigator of the wheel battle. There are dead people, and others don't dare to get in. Jiao Long has no choice but to get in on his own. Then isn't he afraid of being killed by Xiaoan if he goes up there? Haha, the current situation does not necessarily mean that Xiaoan will win. Since Jiao Long dares to go up, he must have his own confidence. Moreover, his strength is at full strength, Xiaozanu's power is not much left, and both of them are first-grade Yuling master. It's not certain who will lose and who will win. Hiss. When you said that, I immediately understood why Jiao Long gave in before. This guy has been conserving his strength. Except for Xiaoan, everyone who was stronger than him was seriously injured, and everyone who was weaker than him was bribed by him. In other words, as long as he defeats Xiaoan, he will definitely be number one. Only then did everyone suddenly realize that Jiao Long had already laid out the plan. Knowing clearly that Xiaoan is not his opponent, he avoids his sharp edge, then uses the wheel battle to tire him out, and finally takes action to seize the fruits of victory. What a deep scheming. Although he won first place, his reputation was also ruined. Is it necessary to sacrifice one's own reputation for the reward of 3 days of training in a secret realm? You know, he is a member of the 8 great families, and he cares most about this kind of reputation. People who can ask this question are people who do not understand the true meaning behind the secret realm. This is a monopoly on information. It is destined that some people will never know it for the rest of their lives. At the same time, in the office building, the 3 deans saw Jiao Long taking the stage. He couldn't help but look weird. Especially Zhao Jiwu was both surprised and speechless. Ha ha ha. Zhu Rong laughed out loud. I thought who was behind it, but it turned out to be your son Zhao Jiwu. Sure enough, he is as smart as me. This laughter was full of irony. Zhao Jiwu looked ugly, and he did not expect that it would be his own cub. I didn't instruct him to do this, he thought of it himself. I'm so anxious, did I say that you instigated him? You. Zhao Jiwu's already red face turned even redder, and he waved his hand. Humph, you are not yin and yang with me, so what if I instigated it? It's not like I haven't done it before. As long as he can win, it's his ability. Yeah, being able to win is considered a skill, but it's a pity that he won't be able to win. Zhu Rong's face was filled with pride. If I remember correctly, this Yi Yulong is Yi Wuming's daughter. She is also a death scythe, and her opponent is also a member of your Zhao family. Will the ending be the same again this time? Is it the same? That has nothing to do with you. Zhao Jiwu snorted coldly. Looking at the scene below, his mind couldn't help but return to the scene he had experienced back then. At that time, he also used this kind of wheel battle to consume Yi Wuming, but Yi Wuming was too strong, so powerful that all those who fought in the wheel battle were used up, and he could not win. That battle completely disgraced him and became a lifelong shame. Now this scene has simply become a projection for him. At this moment, Zhang Wenfu's expression couldn't help but become interesting. The grudges of the previous generation have been continued inexplicably. It is really a wonderful fate. On the fighting stage, when Xiaoan saw Jiao Long coming on stage, his calm eyes opened, but he was not surprised at all. You finally couldn't help it anymore. He had already guessed it was Jiao Long. After all, he is the only one who still has the strength to stand until the end. Those SS level students were all injured and were no longer his match. Xiaoan, there is no need to talk nonsense, the first place can only be mine. The snow lotus sword in Jiao Long's hand shook, and the cold air dispersed, and he went straight towards Xiao to kill him. He knew very well that with a little more time, Xiaoan's strength would recover a little more. Xiaoan's eyes flashed with light, but he did not flinch. Humph, if you have that ability, why not give it to you? After that, he picked up the magic sickle in his hand and rushed towards Jiao Long. The snow lotus sword is completely white, while the death scythe is completely black. One is white and the other is black, which symbolizes the 2 extremes, and also symbolizes the 2 people's fight to the death today. Ding! The 2 weapon spirits collided together, and the surging power immediately competed with each other. Jiao Long couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Xiaoan stood firmly on the spot. In this first confrontation, Xiaoan still had the advantage. But Jiao Long smiled, because he only took 2 steps back, which completely showed that Xiaoan's power was no longer enough. With a perverse smile, Jiao Long immediately attacked again. Don't waste a single second of your time. His attack method is very simple and rough, that is, he constantly confronts Xiaozan head-on. He wants to use the most violent and direct method to consume Xiaozan's defensive power. Because his current imperial power is definitely more than that of Xiaozan. As long as he consumes it, he can defeat Xiaozan. Therefore, every blow he makes is a full-strength attack. Faced with such a fierce offensive, Xiaozan could only deal with it with all his strength, otherwise, he would fall into passivity, and then Jiao Long would usher in an even more violent offensive. However, Xiaozan still had a relatively easy time, because with the aid of perception, he could follow Jiao Long's attack movements. He can make judgments in advance to reduce his own consumption. However, although his perception is strong, Jiao Long is not weak either. His attacks are fierce and tricky, and he goes all out every time. Although Xiaozan can choose the best defensive moves, he still has to face his full defensive power. Therefore, even if Xiaozan fights him back and forth, he can still have a slight advantage. However, with the passage of time, these advantages of Xiaozan gradually diminished. And as the power of defense in the body is consumed, Xiaozan's perception skill plays an increasingly smaller role. I can feel it, but my body can no longer keep up. Time passed by minute by minute. The fierce battle made the students below excited. Although Jiao Long used some tricks to cheat, it has to be said that he is also very strong, and he can fight with a big boss like Xiaozan in full swing. It's great to watch. After a few rounds, Jiao Long's offensive continued unabated. Feeling Xiaozan's gradually weakening strength, the smile on his face became more and more crazier. What's wrong? Have you used up all your strength? How come you only have so little ability left? Jiao Long slashed out with his sword and slashed towards Xiaozan's chest. This time, Xiaozan did not choose to dodge, but also swung the magic sickle and slashed at Jiao Long. Trade injury for injury. Jiao Long smiled coldly. Just change it, who is afraid of whom? Xiaozan chose the lowest method of exchanging injuries for injuries, which further proves that Xiaozan is at the end of his game. Bah! The two of them crossed each other, and there was a blood mark on each chest. The flesh and blood are twisting and turning, all from a cruel attack. However, the wounds on Jiao Long's body were filled with black aura of death, while Xiaozan's wounds were only slightly cold. Death devouring. Snort. Jiao Long looked at the wounds on his body, but he was not worried at all, even with a touch of ridicule. With a shake of his hand, the snow lotus sword emitted a white light and swept across his wound. Then I saw that most of the death energy from his wound was instantly removed. Although there was still a little bit left, it had no major impact on him. Jiao Long then sneered and said, "What do you think the purpose of the contract between me and Zhongshan'er is? Is it for the bloody drama between you two?" Wrong. That's precisely because her innate skill is purification, which is designed to defeat your death aura. I said, "Today's first place is destined to be mine." After saying that, Jiao Long shouted loudly, his aura suddenly surged, and his whole strength seemed to have increased out of thin air. This is Jiao Long's innate skill, and his blood boils. After use, the strength will be increased by 50% based on the original level, and the effect can continue until the power of defense in the body is exhausted. This talent skill is very good, but it also has a shortcoming, that is, although the strength has increased by 50%, the total amount of power of control has not increased. This causes the power of control to be consumed very quickly. Jiao Long's use of this move meant that he was going to end the battle. Xiaozan looked very solemn at this moment. After the fierce battle just now, he now had very little control power left in his body. The Death Scythe's own death-devouring effect was of no use to him, and there was no reply at all. Perception skills are also less useful. Now, Jiao Long's power has been greatly improved, and he, who was already at a disadvantage, has become even more disadvantaged. At this moment, his end seemed to be doomed. Xiaozan is dead. He is not Yi Wuming after all. In the office, Zhao Jiwu was in a good mood when he saw this scene. What happened to being mean? As long as you can win. In this world, strength always speaks. Zhu Rong was unhappy when he saw his proud look. It's not over yet, why worry? It's not necessarily your kid who can win. He also deliberately emphasized the tone of, "You're fool." Zhao Jiwu was too lazy to talk to him. He was a guy who only knew how to talk. He would naturally know when the results came out later. Zhang Wenfu watched all this quietly, curious about the final result. Will the Yi family still win, or will the Jiao family regain their position? On the field, Jiao Long's momentum surged. After reaching the peak, he did not hesitate and struck directly at Xiaoan with his sword. Xiaoan also raised his magic sickle to resist. Bang! The powerful impact caused Xiaoan to be defeated for the first time and he took several steps back. But Jiao Long remained motionless. Jiao Long became even more overjoyed. He seized the opportunity and struck at Xiaoan with one sword after another without leaving any room for chance. Xiaoan resisted with all his strength, but Jiao Long was still unable to parry every sword strike and was retreating steadily. Bang! The sword was slashed out again. This time, Xiaoan was unsteady and retreated more than 10 meters before stopping. He held the magic sickle in his hand tightly, the muscles on his face were twisted into a ball, and he took a trembling breath. It was obvious that he had reached his limit. Jiao Long had also seen that he was at the end of his strength, and immediately mobilized all the defensive power in his body to deliver the final blow to Xiaoan. It's over, Xiaoan. I told you, the first place is mine. The snow lotus sword glowed with white cold light and stabbed towards Xiaoan mercilessly. Faced with this final blow, Xiaoan's face turned grim, and the remaining power of defense in his body was activated crazily. He straightened his chest and back, and swung the death scythe in a round motion, and the annihilated black energy instantly began to rise and burn again. Jiao Long, it's you who should end it. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw the death scythe releasing thick black mist, moving suddenly, the evil energy rolling in like waves, like a strange mass, opening its bloody mouth wide, and in an instant the entire competition stage was covered. Devoured. A ball of black mist. The ghost is squirming. Extremely cold. Jiao Long was also shrouded in it, and the snow lotus sword in his hand seemed to have lost its light and could not be seen at all. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked and shocked. What is this? What a terrifying pressure. Is this mist? Everyone opened their mouths in surprise. This was the first time they had seen such a terrifying scene. At this moment, a student suddenly exclaimed, "The skill of control. This is the skill of control." As soon as his words came out, they were like thunder in the clear sky, resounding through the crowd. What? Controlling skills? Are you kidding me? Is this a royal skill? How is it possible? How is it impossible? In addition to the movement caused by the Yuji skill, what else do you think can cause it? As soon as these words came out, everyone fell silent for a moment. Yes, apart from the skill of control, they couldn't think of anything else that could create such a huge momentum. But after I believed it, I became deeply disbelieving. 1 month into the freshman year, if you can become a first-grade spiritual master, you are already a top genius. This Xiaoan has actually developed the skill of mastering. What kind of monster is he? When did F level become so powerful? Haha, whoever believes that he is an F level person now, I will laugh at him for 1,000 years. Everyone couldn't help but tremble with passion. In the office, the 3 deans also looked moved at this moment. The skill of control. And it's an extremely powerful skill of control. This little guy has something. Zhu Rong's eyes showed admiration. There are many students who can master the art of mastering at the level of a first-grade spiritual master, but none of them can master it within 1 month of enrollment. Xiaoan is the first person. Then he looked at Zhao Jiwu proudly and said, Xiaoan is also good at guarding. I wonder if that brat from your family can do it. Does it have something to do with you? Your family lives in the sea, so you are so lenient. Zhao Jiwu was in a bad mood and directly broke the defense. Seeing that his son is about to win, but is about to be overturned again, who can accept this? Zhu Rong smiled and said nothing. He liked to see Zhao Jiwu deflated. However, what neither of them noticed was that in the eyes of Dean Zhang Wenfu, although they were surprised, there was also a hint of strangeness. Because of the imperial skill that Xiaoan displayed, he could tell at a glance that it was very powerful. But, because of this, he was strange. Because such a powerful imperial skill cannot be developed by Xiaoan at this stage of his strength. Even if he signed a life and death contract with bonuses, it would not be so easy. Is he gifted? He stared intently at the movement created by Xiaoan. At this moment, his pupils suddenly shrank. Wait a minute, this control skill, Fish Lantern attracts souls. Fish Lantern attracts souls. As soon as these 4 words came out, the expressions of Zhao Jiwu and Zhu Rong changed. Stiffened. They immediately looked at Xiaozan carefully again. When they saw this, they were doubly shocked. It's really a fish lantern that attracts souls. Where did this kid learn this trick? Fish lanterns attract souls. This is Wu Ming's famous stunt. He used this trick back then and became famous among the freshmen in the academy. Beating Zhao Jiwu like a dead dog directly cast a shadow on him. Especially in the days when he was studying in the academy, Zhao Jiwu did not dare to cause trouble to Yi Wuming. However, at that time, the fish lantern to attract souls was still in its infancy, and it was far less powerful than what Xiaozan had used. But that's not important. The important thing is that Xiaozan actually learned this trick. Zhang Wenfu and Zhu Rong looked at Zhao Jiwu with a strange look on their faces. What are you looking at me doing? Zhao Jiwu was angry, but his eyes were a little evasive. He knew what these 2 people meant. Weren't they just mocking him? I remember when I was beaten by Yi Wuming. Now, his son was beaten by Yi Wuming's son-in-law again. Depend on. What a shame. You really can't escape the shadow of the Yi family, right? If I had known this, I might as well have gone to Japan. At least this way there would be no Jiao Long. On the fighting stage, Jiao Long's whole body was shrouded in black mist, and his attack suddenly lost its target and stopped helplessly. Looking around, there is only endless darkness and a coldness that penetrates the soul. He was a little panicked. Xiaozan, come out. Let's fight head on. What's the use of hiding? As a member of a large family, he naturally knew that Xiaozan had used the imperial skill. He was panicked and shocked. He had only been in school for 1 month, but Xiaozan had actually developed the imperial technique. What kind of monster is this guy? The power of control in the body is activated, and the white light shines on the Snow Lotus sword, and its purification talent skill immediately dispels the black mist. But the next second, there was endless black mist rolling in, which could not be dispersed at all. Jiao Long was even more panicked. If he couldn't find a way to crack it, then the black mist alone could consume him to death. He raised the Snow Lotus sword in his hand and bent down close to the ground. Its faint light allowed him to see the solidity of the ground. The floor of the competition arena has grid lines. Following this grid line, he could determine the basic direction, and mentally estimated the distance between himself and Xiaozan when the black mist shrouded him, and he immediately locked onto a position. In front of 20 meters, Jiao Long's face turned grim. No matter what, he had to take a gamble. If you charge directly, you might still have a chance to kill Xiaozan. If nothing moves, then death is inevitable. Thinking of this, he calmed down and prepared for the final fight. But at this moment, suddenly, a dim light appeared in front of his eyes. The light was a little blurry and still swaying slowly, like a fish lantern on a boat traveling on the river in a foggy night, giving people a peaceful but somewhat eerie feeling. Jiao Long's attention was attracted unconsciously. He had a strong desire to find out and clear away the clouds. He subconsciously moved closer, but he didn't notice that the light of the Snow Lotus sword in his hand became dim. Wake up, Jiao Long, wake up. Zhang Xiaoner discovered something was wrong with Jiao Long and shouted anxiously. But Jiao Long seemed not to hear it and continued to approach the fish lantern. But at this moment, the black fog in front of Jiao Long suddenly rolled and thundered, and a roar of breaking wind rushed towards his face, carrying a cold and dangerous crisis straight into Jiao Long's chest. That's a magic sickle. The scarlet bloodline is like eyes staring into death, coming to claim Jiao Long's life. Zhang Xiaoner was horrified. At the critical moment, she took back control of herself, and the Snow Lotus sword was instantly blocked in front of Jiao Long. Bang! The extremely powerful force was like a heavy hammer hitting the egg. The Snow Lotus sword was instantly bent and pressed against Jiao Long's chest. Then, together with Jiao Long, it flew upside down like a kite with its string broken. Boom! Jiao Long's body was smashed out of the black mist. From the outside, Jiao Long looked like a fart, sprayed out by black mist. He reappeared in front of the public, but he was extremely miserable. The huge impact slammed him against a stone wall outside the competition stage, and then he collapsed like a dead dog. Lying on the ground, motionless, covered in blood, with bone spurs penetrating the flesh and blood, it was bloody and miserable. His chest was even more dented, his breathing was weak, and he was dying. Next to him, Zhang Shen'er lay in the same miserable state, her snow-white clothes stained with blood. This scene, it was extremely miserable and shocked the whole audience. Everyone held their breath and could only hear their hearts beating wildly. Their eyes were dull and their heads turned stiffly, from the miserable Jiao Long to the domineering Xiaoan on the competition stage. At this moment, Xiaoan was holding a death scythe with a dense black energy. His slender figure stood proudly, exuding a chilling and cold aura. Although his figure is thin, he seems to contain extremely terrifying power. As long as someone dares to commit a crime, those waiting for him will be mercilessly destroyed. He glanced at everyone, his eyes as sharp as a knife, as if he could cut people in two, making people shudder. When he swept across, no one dared to look at him. The doctor reacted the fastest and rushed to Jiao Long quickly. The female doctor took one look at the injury and turned it into a scalpel, which was then held in the hand of a male doctor. The male doctor immediately used his defensive skills, and white light enveloped Jiao Long and Zhang Shen'er. He saw that the injuries on Jiao Long and Zhang Shen'er were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. At this time, the referee also reacted. He glanced at Xiaoan, with a flash of fear in his eyes, and then said to the audience, "Challengers Jiao Long and Zhang Shen'er are defeated. Is there anyone else who wants to challenge on stage?" As soon as these words came out, many students shook their heads like rattles. "Are you kidding me? Xiaoan now looks like a god of murder. Whoever kills him will die. No one despises his longevity." There were a few brave guys who had the urge to go up and pick up the leeks, but when they saw the bright red bloodline on the death scythe, they still flinched. Maybe Xiaoan has exhausted his talents and is at the end of his rope. As long as they dare to go up, the crown of victory will fall on their heads. However, seeing Xiaoan's cruel methods, none of them dared to risk their lives. After all, no one dared to guarantee that a new student could develop imperial skills within a month of entering school, and he would have no other trump card. The one who can take first place is destined. The referee also estimated that no one would dare to challenge him. Xiaoan was in the limelight at the moment, and no one who was not smart would dare to challenge him. He immediately announced, "I announce that the first place winners in this freshman competition are Xiaoan and Yuling." As the referee's voice fell, Xiaoan couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Now he is really squeezed to the last drop. If there is another challenge from Cammy, he will roll off the competition stage. Fortunately, he shocked them. However, before he could be happy, the law enforcement team came forward again to take him away for interrogation. Xiaoan knew that murder was inevitable. Although he said that he would not be executed, he would definitely be punished, so he followed them. It wasn't until he left that the stunned students started talking quietly again. "He is the number one, but he is also the one who killed people. I don't know how the academy will deal with him." According to federal law, murderers are either sentenced to imprisonment and undergo rehabilitation, or they are sent to the border to defend against monsters. But either of these two types is unacceptable to him. Oh, what a pity for such a genius. If he is really punished, his future will be ruined. Okay, instead of worrying about others, why not worry more about yourself? Others have the ability to kill, but you will only be killed. At the same time, in the office, the three deans watched this scene. Zhu Rong next to him couldn't help but get angry again. "Hey, Lao Jiao, this guy almost beat your son to death, why don't you go down and seek revenge on him?" "What nonsense are you talking about? Do you think I'm as weak as you?" Zhao Jiwu said disdainfully. These words are simply insulting to him. HMPH, this is a matter for their younger generation. What does it have to do with us? If you are inferior to others in terms of skill, you deserve to be beaten. I was beaten by Yi Wuming back then, but my father didn't take any action. What's more, he's not dead. This is true. With the first doctor of Beatty Yuling Academy present, Jiao Long would not have any sequelae even if he died. There are definitely psychological shadows. There was a smile on Zhu Rong's lips. He knew Zhao Jiwu would say this. He himself said this deliberately, and his purpose was to protect Xiaoan from the old boy from bullying the younger ones. Although he also knew that his behavior was unnecessary. After all, I have known Zhao Jiwu for decades, and I still know his character very well. But then Zhao Jiwu spat again. How could I give birth to such a stupid son? If I were him, I would arrange for the strongest person to challenge him from the beginning. This would consume Xiaozan's fighting power the most. It's also not easy to be discovered. Even if he is discovered later, Xiaozan's combat power must have been consumed a lot. If we go up at this time, we will be more confident. It's good for him. He was afraid that Xiaozan wouldn't find out, so he let the weak one go first. Isn't this stupid? I was so wise all my life, how could I give birth to such an idiot son? The words were extremely unpleasant, and both himself and his wife were scolded. Zhang Wenfu and Zhu Rong could not help but twitch their mouths when they heard this. Old Jiao, you are going too far with your scolding. He is still your son after all. HMPH, it's just because he is my son that I scold him. If it were anyone else, I wouldn't be too lazy to scold him. There is nothing wrong with what Zhao Jiwu said. If it were anyone else, he would really be too lazy to pay attention. The weak should be eliminated. This is his teaching philosophy. And a strong person must use all means to make himself stronger. Compared to the stupidity shown by Jiao Long, he actually liked Xiaozan's courage more, killing people in public and being ruthless and decisive. Although it violated the law, it had to be said that this was his best choice at the time. His teaching philosophy is opposite to that of Zhu Rong. He is more practical or cold-blooded. He wants students to realize the cold-bloodedness of the world while in the academy, so that after graduation, they can quickly adapt to society and understand the true meaning of how the world works. As for Zhu Rong, he tends to be idealistic, or warm-hearted. In his philosophy, the academy is the last warmth in this cold-blooded world. Cold-blooded education methods will make students go to extremes and become machines that only know how to kill. He wanted to preserve the warmth of the students and let them spread this warmth. In his opinion, the world should not only be cold-blooded and killing. As a human being, you should have humanity. This is also the reason why the two people often quarrel. Dean, what should you decide to do with this Xiaozan? Zhu Rong looked at Zhang Wenfu with concern in his eyes. This is a good seedling. If he is really punished according to the law, how else to deal with it? Of course it is in accordance with the law. In my opinion, send him directly to the border. If he can survive, his achievements will be no worse than if he stayed in the academy. Zhao Jiwu said. The border is indeed the best place to experience, but the prerequisite is to survive. Zhao Jiwu's attitude is relatively harsh, which is related to his teaching philosophy. He feels that only strong people who grow up in a cruel environment can be considered truly strong and can be more suitable to survive in this world. But Zhu Rong definitely didn't think so, but he didn't refute Zhao Jiwu's words because he knew that he alone had no say in this matter. The main thing is to see how Zhang Wenfu makes his decision. Zhang Wenfu was also a little hesitant. As the first place winner in the freshman competition, Xiaozan was worthy of being focused on training. If he is really punished in accordance with the law, it will undoubtedly be a huge loss, but if he is not punished, this kind of cover-up will definitely bring great consequences to Beatty Yuling Academy and the federal government. Negative impact. After all, the 4 major Yuling academies are all under the direct jurisdiction of the federal government. Just as he was thinking, suddenly, the secretary knocked on the door and came in. Dean, Director Qin Wanfang of the Secret Service wants to see you. Why is he here? Zhang Wenfu thought with his brows, and then said, ask him to wait for me in the conference hall. I will come later. Yes, comma. At the same time, after Xiaozan and Yi Yulong were taken to the temporary detention center by the law enforcement team, they thought they would be interrogated immediately, but to their surprise, no one paid attention to them at all and just let them stay in the room like this. Is this playing psychological warfare with us? Xiaozan waited for a long time, but no one came. He couldn't help but think of the interrogation method of prisoners in TV series. He was detained for a few days first to cause psychological depression, and then he was subjected to anything. Yi Yulong said, no, the law enforcement team is not so perverted. I guess they are discussing how to deal with us. Then how do you think it will be handled? I don't know, but we will definitely not be allowed to stay in the academy. This is unfair to other students. Xiaozan agreed with this statement. When they made the decision to kill, they thought of this consequence. I wonder if they will let us enter the secret realm. Meeting. So sure, if not, they wouldn't let us continue playing. That's indeed the truth. Xiaozan nodded. Since the academy allows them to continue playing, it shows that it wants them to win. Since we want them to win, wouldn't it be meaningless if we don't reward them later? I did kill an innocent student. Xiaoan sighed with emotion. Thinking of the first time he killed someone, he was pushed away, and he was not mentally prepared. Under the circumstances, killing the student was the best choice. But fundamentally speaking, there was no deep hatred between him and that student, they were all for the purpose. He is not a cold-blooded animal. He is always a little uncomfortable with things like killing people, such as eating and drinking. However, Yuling seemed to be much more indifferent than him. Sure enough, after hearing this, Yuling paused for a moment, and then said, "The sky is the chessboard, the country is the chessboard, the home is the chessboard, and only humans are the chess pieces. We cannot be the chessboard, at least we must be the chess players." Xiaoan couldn't help but look at her with some surprise in his eyes. This sentence was a bit inexplicable, but Xiaoan still understood what she meant. "I know, I just haven't adapted yet. Maybe broken bones are the best education." Xiaoan is not an indecisive person, otherwise when Yuling had murderous intentions, Xiaoan would not have chosen not to stop her, but would have cooperated with her. He just felt a little emotional. A living person did not die on the battlefield of monsters, but died on the chessboard of the game. It's somewhat frustrating and worthless. In his mind, human beings' enemies are monsters. It's a pity that this world is like this. His emotion is a common problem among people in this peaceful environment. If he experiences more cruel things, he won't have such emotions in the future. Then, he looked at Yuling curiously. "I didn't expect that you and I are the same age, but you can say such mature words." Yuling chuckled lightly, but with a hint of bitterness. "The so-called maturity is just that it has experienced more difficulties and pain than others." Xiaoan suddenly choked and didn't know what to say. In 2 consecutive sentences, she expressed the extraordinary understanding of ordinary people. He was really curious about what Yuling had experienced before this. There was silence for a while. Xiaoan showed a smile on his face, looked at Yuling and said seriously, "I find that I seem to like you a little bit." Yes, Xiaoan kind of likes her. He developed an appreciation for her depth of thought and attitude towards life, became curious about her past experiences, and developed a desire to protect her weakness. He no longer just likes Yuling under the skin. Hearing this, Yuling couldn't help but become curious. Xiaoan explained, "I'm talking about love at the soul level." Yuling understood, and stared at Xiaoan's eyes seriously, feeling the released from his eyes. Then, a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. "You are also very good, it is an unexpected joy. Can I understand that this is your soul's response?" "Sure." Xiaoan smiled uncontrollably with muscles on his face. At this moment, there was a sound of footsteps outside the door, and then the door opened and 2 middle-aged men walked in. He has a Chinese character face and thick square eyebrows. One's skin is a little dark and his temples are a little white. Introduction. My name is Zhang Wenfu, the Dean of Beatty Yuling Academy. This is Qin Wanfang, the Director of the Secret Service. Xiaoan looked at Qin Wanfang in surprise and confusion. He could understand that the Dean was here. Why was the Director of the Secret Service here? If you kill someone, it's up to the Law Enforcement Bureau. What does it have to do with the Secret Service? Secret Service. The content of responsibilities is somewhat similar to the integration of the Public Security Special Service and the National Security Bureau in the ancient Yuan dynasty. They are now under the direct jurisdiction of the federal government and are also divided into 2 departments. One light part and one dark part. The Mingbu's responsibilities are to fight against terrorism and maintain stability, and to kill the monsters causing trouble in the territory. It has many members. The responsibilities of Anbu are to explore secret realms, compete for resources, and kill the threats of powerful monsters. The number of members is small, but all of them are powerful. Qin Wanfang is the director of the Anbu. Xiaoan didn't know what he was doing here, and thought he was the director of the Ming department. "I heard from the dean that you killed someone in the freshman competition just now." Qin Wanfang had the temperament of a superior person, and there was a hint of questioning in his words. "Yes," Xiaoan answered briefly. I'm quite brave." Qin Wanfang's eyes narrowed slightly. "I couldn't tell whether it was praise or reprimand. What do you want from me?" Since the other party didn't tell him his purpose, Xiaoan would ask it himself. Qin Wanfang actually admired Xiaoan's attitude. He looked calm and composed after killing someone, which was really a bit arrogant. However, what he needs is such an arrogant person. Because the more arrogant you are, the more powerful you are. He pulled out a chair and sat down, looking like he was interrogating. Do you know what kind of capital punishment is required for murder according to federal law? Don't talk nonsense, just say what you have to say. I don't like to listen to people beating around the bush. Just as Xiaoan was about to answer, Yulong's cold voice sounded from the side. Xiaoan couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. This girl is really straightforward in speaking, and she is not afraid of offending anyone at all. After all, we are also prisoners now, and the other party is the leader. It's not good to talk like this, right? But he likes it. He also hates people who can't fart even if they want to fart, and take a long time to fart. What's more, my wife has such arrogant capital. Qin Wanfang was obviously choked by Yulong's rebuke. He looked at Yulong with a surprised expression. He didn't expect such a beautiful girl to be so disrespectful when speaking. Zhang Wenfu next to him couldn't help but want to laugh, but the situation was not appropriate, so he had to hold it in. He knew Yulong's temper well, and the title of the #1 Bingshan school beauty of Beide Yuling Academy was not for nothing. Before coming here, Zhang Wenfu warned Qin Wanfang not to do what the bureau did. If you don't believe it, it's okay now. Are you being criticized? He just likes to see these people being defeated. Who makes them always come to their college to snatch students? But a leader is a leader after all, and if nothing else, his ability to be thick-skinned is top-notch. He smiled softly, and then asked calmly, your name is Yulong. Your talent is really enviable, just like your father Wuming. The words were meant to ease the atmosphere, but instead of irritating him, Yulong became even more indifferent. The aura on his body was as biting as ice. If nothing happens, you can leave. Forehead. Is this being sent off? Qin Wanfang's eyes couldn't help but be startled. Why didn't he follow the routine? He looked at Zhang Wenfu with some confusion. Zhang Wenfu's eyes wandered. Don't look at me. I've warned you a long time ago not to play official tricks. If you don't listen to me, who's to blame? Seeing Qin Wanfang's deflated look, Xiaoan silently gave his wife a big thumbs up. Should he say it or not, Yulong's uncompromising temper really got into Xiaoan's heart. Xiaoan is not as free and easy as she is. Fight if you want, kill if you want. Xiaoan stretched out his hand not to hit the smiling person, and did not break his face. He would save some face for others. Qin Wanfang was stiffened by Yulong's merciless words. After all, he was also the director of the Secret Service and the director of the Anbu. His people were all thorny, but no one had ever dared to follow him like this, say. Very angry. However, he can't get angry now. Take a deep breath. If you can't change others, then change yourself. So, he got straight to the point. It's like this. I have a task here that requires your assistance. If you can complete it, then I can apply to my superiors to reduce the penalties imposed on you under federal law. What mission? Xiaoan still guessed this. Qin Wanfang said, a month ago, a secret realm appeared on the southwest border. After preliminary investigation, it was found to be a low-risk secret realm with high value. But because it appeared on the border, ownership rights were created. Conflict. Our country and other countries couldn't argue, and finally decided to select a pair of spiritual masters from their own first-grade spiritual masters to enter the secret realm. Which country's players can finally come out of it, then the ownership of the secret realm will belong to which country. Xiaoan understands this. Unless a secret realm appears within the territory, all new secret realms that appear will be up for grabs. Moreover, as science and technology has developed for more than 100 years, global travel has become more convenient. The emergence of this secret realm has also transformed from an initial dispute between border countries into a global competition. Of course, this so-called global competition is actually a rogue agreement secretly reached by several powerful countries who are not satisfied with the secret realm within their own borders and want to obtain more resources. Therefore, although each country only sent one pair of players, there were 19 groups in total. Why are there only 19 groups? Because after the mutation, the small countries perished and the big countries annexed the original small countries, leaving only 19. In this kind of competition, shouldn't the strongest spiritual master from each country be sent? Why choose the weakest first-grade spiritual master? Xiaoan asked doubtfully. Qin Wanfeng explained, the answer is very simple, because the ultimate enemy of human beings is monsters. If the strong fight, then only human beings' own strength will be lost. Once the monsters attack, who will resist? It's different if you choose a first-grade spiritual master. You may lose some talents, but the most indispensable thing in this world is genius. Geniuses that cannot grow will only consume a lot of resources. Xiaoan couldn't help but shake his head when he heard this. What you said is a bit heartless. It's hard for people to serve the country. Qin Wanfeng didn't care. I admit it's a bit straight, and maybe it's a bit ruthless to others, but for you too, it should be in line with your central ideas. Then you've got the wrong person. I still like to listen to hot-blooded words. Yuling may like this kind of cold transaction, but Xiaoan doesn't like it very much. What are the benefits? Xiaoan continued to ask. Benefits? Qin Wanfeng was stunned. Xiaoan said, serving the country and fighting for a secret realm, shouldn't I be given some benefits? Qin Wanfeng chuckled, looked directly at Xiaoan, and said word by word, you are a murderer. Xiaoan didn't care about his bayonet-like gaze and said, murderers also have human rights. All I know is that they will have a narrow escape from death. Qin Wanfeng was stunned for a moment, then withdrew his gaze after a moment. You see clearly. In a struggle like this between countries, we are just a pawn. You don't have to be so pessimistic. No country wants its own pawns to die. Qin Wanfeng added, this mission is indeed as you said, a narrow escape from death. But with your level as a first-grade spiritual master, you can display powerful control skills. I believe that there are few people in the same level who can match you. Therefore, when you enter the secret realm this time, you have almost 9% chance. 19 winning percentage. What about the other 1%? Qin Wanfeng couldn't help but become serious about this question. The other 1% is actually the most important. This 1% is that this may not be a melee, but a team battle, or something else. A dozen or so team fights. What do you mean? Xiaoan became serious. One-on-one, he is not afraid of anyone of the same level. But one-to-many, what is the difference between this and death? Qin Wanfeng was also very bitter about this. He couldn't control this kind of thing. He explained, since the mutation, our federal government has relied on the inheritance and development of martial arts classics, and has quickly become the most powerful federation in the world. One super, many powerful, has also become what others call a super federation. Such strength is such that in every battle for the secret realm, we win more and lose less, and the victory almost reaches a terrifying 80%. However, this has also caused dissatisfaction from other federations. In recent years, we have been losing, and we have lost 4 games in a row. 4 games means 8 geniuses. No federation can bear such a loss. Live. Qin Wanfeng was very sad. Although he also recognized that the growth of a genius requires hardship, he still could not accept this kind of loss beyond the target. Xiaoan was a little surprised that he lost 4 games in a row. With an 80% winning rate, it was unacceptable to lose 2 games in a row. How could he lose 4 games in a row? It's a bit incredible to think about. So they secretly united to target us? Xiaoan asked. Yes. Qin Wanfeng glanced at Xiaoan appreciatively. His brain is very flexible and he can make sense at a glance. When Zhang Wenfu recommended him before, he thought Xiaoan was a murderous and reckless man, and was a little worried. But now it seems that Xiaoan is not only super strong, but also has a good mind. Qin Wanfeng continued, later, based on our investigation of the use of the secret realm after the competition, we found that many of the people who entered the secret realm were from other federations. This situation did not exist before. The secret realm is rich in resources, which is indispensable for cultivating strong people. Its importance is no less than the territorial oil dispute in the ancient Yuan dynasty. Especially this kind of low-risk secret realm, it is simply a paradise, and I will never choose to cooperate with others to develop it. So all the abnormal signs can only indicate one problem, and that is that they had reached an agreement before the secret realm was fought. Xiaoan understood that the weak federation often loses, cannot get resources for a long time, and cannot improve its overall strength. Naturally, they are afraid of being destroyed by monsters, and afraid of being annexed by powerful countries. If you choose to combine, although you will eat less meat, it is still better than not eating any meat at all. This is understandable, but if this is the case, then among those who join forces, except for one who can survive in the end, all the others will die. As soon as he said this, Xiaoan suddenly realized a cruel problem. That is, compared with the important resources of the Federation, what does the sacrifice of a genius mean? Not at all trivial, and the key point that made the federal governments agree to cooperate without hesitation is that even if these people who serve the country do not unite, they will die. Because the rules of the fight for the secret realm are that only one person can come out alive. However, this way of death is somewhat chilling. Qin Wanfeng saw Xiaoan's gloomy expression and guessed what he was thinking. It is indeed a bit chilling to do this, but this is the cruelty of reality. For the development of a federation, there will always be people who continue to sacrifice. They know they are going to die, but they won't hesitate. Just like our current peace, doesn't it stand on the flesh and blood of our ancestors? Xiaoan actually felt what Qin Wanfeng said more strongly. Because he had traveled through time, there was no more than 100 years of New Year history between him and them. But because of this, he has a deeper understanding of the history of ancient Yuan Nian than these people. Those painful injuries, and those who have gone on to succeed, Xiaoan, as the red heir of Gu Yuan Nian, will never forget. Seeing Xiaoan's expression, Qin Wanfeng knew that Xiaoan was a patriotic man. He added, actually, no country is willing to sacrifice its own genius. The federations also use the arena duel method before, but you know, they can't win at all. Later, when the defeat became desperate, they joined forces to change the way of fighting, and it turned into the cruel mode now where everyone enters the secret realm to fight and survive in the end. Moreover, it has become more intense in the past 2 years. More intense? Is there anything more intense than joining forces? Xiaoan asked. Is this federal dispute so complicated? Qin Wanfeng nodded, looking at Xiaoan with an eyebrow that was not as relaxed as before, but with a hint of deep worry. Yes, in the past, each federation selected the best students from the first-grade spiritual masters to compete. On the one hand, the outstanding students were strong enough and had a greater chance of winning. On the other hand, the outstanding students represented the federation's facade, after winning, can enhance the federation's soft power and attract more talents. But this situation changed as they lost more and more. According to the secret investigation we sent out, many people in the Federation have replaced students with dead soldiers. These death warriors are not very talented, but they have been fighting death since childhood. Everyone who survives has mastered extraordinary killing skills. The students fighting with them are simply tortured. Is it illegal to send dead soldiers? Xiaoan asked. It's not against the rules, because the regulations only stipulate that the strength is not allowed to exceed the first-grade spiritual master, and there is no stipulation on identity and age. Qin Wanfeng shook his head. Then why don't we send death soldiers? Our federal government should also have them, right? Of course, Qin Wanfeng nodded, but the problem comes back to another point, that is, we only have one dead soldier, and their dead soldiers are joint. We sent them twice, but we still lost. Then why don't we unite with other federations? Our federation is vast and rich in resources. Although there are many secret realms, most of them are very dangerous. Low-risk secret realms like this are welfare. If we don't have enough for our own people, how can we share them with others? Moreover, there are risks in cooperating to develop secret realms. So you think if you let me go, I can defeat those dead soldiers? Xiaoan asked this key question. Against students of the same level, he is 100% sure of victory. But it's hard to say how to deal with dead soldiers. Mainly because he hasn't had any contact with it. Qin Wanfeng nodded and shook his head. What's the meaning? Xiaoan was very confused when he saw him like this. Qin Wanfeng said, I don't guarantee that I will win if I send you there, but you are definitely the best candidate. Xiaoan stared at him and continued. Qin Wanfeng also continued, although the death soldiers are powerful, almost all death soldiers have a flaw, that is, their strength is relatively fixed. Because the choice of a dead soldier will inevitably not select those with outstanding talents. The purpose of cultivating a dead soldier is to let him die a worthy death. And the outstanding talents are to grow into the pillars of the country. They are responsible for resisting monsters. Important responsibility. So the dead warriors with low talent have a characteristic, that is, they are proficient in killing skills, but they are much worse than the outstanding students in the method of controlling spirits. Especially for the dead warriors who are first-level spiritual masters, the gap will be even greater, big. And you, compared with them, have an absolute advantage, and that is the skill of control. This is something that even outstanding talents at the level of a first-level spiritual master cannot master, but you can master it. Just by doing this, you are enough to kill them in an instant. And according to the dean, your mastery skills are very good, powerful. Now Xiaoan understood why he chose him. One word, strong. So awesome. Moreover, there is another crucial point, that is, you dare to kill people. Many students currently do not have this point. Qin Wanfang added. After saying that, he suddenly stared into Xiaoan's eyes, his eyes shining brightly, as if interrogating a prisoner, saying word by word, "You still act so bland after killing people, you must have killed many people, right?" I have to say that Xiaoan really couldn't react when he came so suddenly. If Xiaoan was really a suspect, he might have been bluffed by him. But it's a pity that Xiaoan is not. Instead, he raised the corner of his mouth and looked at his slender hands nonchalantly. Maybe I was born to kill. Born to kill. The words spoken in this calm tone made Qin Wanfang's mouth open and he couldn't help but be shocked. This kid. Then, he laughed loudly, and the laughter resounded throughout the entire detention room, and even the guards outside looked at it curiously. Killing is good. What I need is someone like you who dares to kill, can kill, and knows how to kill. If you couldn't kill someone, I wouldn't choose you. Xiaoan raised his head and asked, "So you are so sure that I will agree to you?" No, no, no. Qin Wanfang stopped laughing and shook his head. Whether you agree or not is your own business, but I believe you will make the right choice. After all, killing someone in the academy is a serious crime. Although you are highly talented, the federal government has to give an explanation to countless students, right? This can't be said to be a threat, but it sounds like a threat. Strictly speaking, it can only be regarded as stating a fact. Xiaoan and Yuling are very talented and have unlimited future achievements, which is destined to prevent them from being sentenced to death. But their behavior was too flamboyant. They killed a student in front of all the students in the college. If there was no punishment for such a bad behavior, the credibility of the federal government would be reduced. Who will fight for the country in the future? Therefore, Xiaoan and the others will definitely be punished, but I don't seem to have a better choice. Okay, I agree. Xiaoan said directly without thinking too much. Are you so willing to agree? Now it was Qin Wanfang's turn to be suspicious. Serve the country. Xiaoan smiled. What he said was not a joke. Before time travel, he was a Sichuanese. He experienced the great earthquake that year and was saved by the Red Children. After traveling through time, he became an orphan and was raised by the federal government. Therefore, serving the country is not a lie to him. Of course, there are also some practical reasons. That's because the 4 major colleges are all affiliated with the federal government. 80% of the students who graduate from here enter the military, and the remaining 20% will enter the major armed services. Xiaoan's future is also to join the army. If he agrees now, he will only serve the country a few years in advance. What time does it start? When asking this question, Xiaoan looked at Zhang Wenfu. Zhang Wenfu naturally understood what he meant and smiled kindly. Don't worry, your secret realm reward is inevitable. Qin Wanfang also said, the time is set in a week. After you come out of the secret realm, you will be given 4 days of special training. We don't want such a good seedling like you to die young. Don't worry, I haven't lived enough yet. Xiaoan replied. Okay, you two will take a short rest and prepare to enter the secret realm. I haven't visited my alma mater for a long time. I really miss it. Qin Wanfang stood up and gave them the rest of the time. Xiaoan had been waiting here for several hours and had already had enough rest. Then he said to Zhang Wenfu, Dean, we have rested, let's go directly to the secret realm. Zhang Wenfu thought for a while and felt that time is precious now. Okay, then you can go in now. So, Zhang Wenfu got up and took Xiaoan and Yuling to the secret place. The location of the secret realm is in the back hill of the college, and there are special guards guarding it. Pass through a hidden bamboo forest and then walk into a waterfall. Behind the waterfall is the entrance to the secret realm. This secret realm was also discovered accidentally that year. After exploration, I found that it was a secret realm with extremely low risk and extremely rich resources, so I established the academy based on this secret realm. And because when this secret realm was discovered, it was guarded by a great white tiger demon, so the academy was named Beatty Academy. Zhang Wenfu opened the secret realm while introducing. The entrance to the secret realm exudes a faint white light, like a vertical mirror, but it spreads from the center to the surroundings like a wave. Go in. The Beatty secret realm is a welfare secret realm. There are almost no major dangers in it. After entering, you can take away all the good things you find inside. There is no limit to the quantity. The time limit is 3 days, and you have to come out on your own after 3 days. If you fail to come out after the time limit, you will be severely punished and will be deprived of the qualification to enter the secret realm in the future. Xiaoan was a little moved when he heard these words. Is there really no limit on the quantity? Dean, don't regret it then. Zhang Wenfu asked with a mysterious smile. Why do you think only 2 people are allowed to enter the secret realm a year? Oh, Xiaoan suddenly realized that he had forgotten the word, ace plan. I didn't have any intuitive impression before, but now I feel that this college is really throwing away resources. Seeing his sudden realization, Zhang Wenfu couldn't help but chuckled. Besides, how much can you take? Is it possible that you can also empty the entire secret realm? Haha, that's true. Xiaoan smiled honestly. It looks a little silly. Zhang Wenfu also laughed, but what he didn't notice was that a fierce light flashed deep in Xiaoan's eyes. Then if the dean has no other instructions, we will go in first. Well, go ahead. After waving their hands, Xiaoan and Yuling walked in. I just feel that the scenery in front of me is changing, like a blur. The next second, when he opened his eyes again, he came to another world. It is a very beautiful scenery, with clear mountains and clear water. The sky is filled with lavender light, and the distant mountains and autumn water are light blue. All kinds of plants that are rare outside grow here, with fragrant flowers and colorful spiritual fruits. From time to time, some low-level monsters would pop out, eat the fruit, then curiously look at Xiaoan, and then disappear in a flash. Xiaoan looked at the scenery and felt at ease in his heart. Taking a deep breath, his eyes lit up again. This secret realm was indeed a secret realm. Even the yu-qi contained in the air was extremely rich. It's such a good place. If there were no monsters, it would be great to live here all the time. Xiaoan said with emotion. Yuling did not respond to him, but closed his eyes, as if sensing something. After a moment, she opened her eyes. In this secret realm, my innate skills have been enhanced, and I can sense spiritual fruits and monsters within a range of 200 meters. Xiaoan touched his chin. 200 meters, then if you transform into the weapon spirit form, our 2 sensory talents will be superimposed, and there will be no problem within the range of 500 meters. In this range, it is also possible to find more advanced spiritual fruits. It's pretty passable. But, having said this, Xiaoan took out the notebook Yuling left for him. Turning to one of the pages, there was a map drawn on it. The route is clear on the map, and many places are marked with red markers. Those marked places are where spiritual fruits grow. It's so densely packed that it's everywhere. Xiaoan couldn't help but sigh, not to mention, our dad is really kind to us. He seems to know that we will enter the secret realm. He even determined the location where the spiritual fruit will grow for us. Yuling took a look at the map and agreed very much. Combine the perception skills with the map, so that we can find the spiritual fruit we need as quickly as possible. Oh, that's wrong. Xiaoan immediately interrupted. Since we are here, we must be prepared to come. The dean has already asked us to take it freely. If we only take a little, wouldn't we be betraying the dean's good intentions? Quote. You mean? Yuling looked at him. Xiaoan immediately laughed maliciously, and then took out a storage bag from his arms. This storage bag is made of high-tech materials and is very malleable. It is as big as a fingernail, but it can fit a villa. And it's also very strong. As long as you can carry it, this storage bag will almost never break. This was specially prepared by Xiaoan for this trip to the secret realm. Don't miss it when you're passing by. If you pick it casually, you won't suffer a loss or be fooled. There are so many spiritual fruits, and it would be a big loss if you only pick a little. Yuling understood that Xiaoan wanted to catch them all. Yes, but we still have to put the spiritual fruits we need first. Other spiritual fruits can only be along the way. 3 days is not long. We can't finish this secret realm. That's natural, Xiaoan nodded. Although the spiritual fruit was good, he would not be stupid enough to throw away the watermelon for sesame seeds. There are many spiritual fruits in the secret realm, and their main goal is to collect spiritual fruits that match themselves. Only these spiritual fruits can quickly improve their strength. Afterwards, Xiaoan picked up the map to identify his location and direction. It has to be said that Yuling is strong. This map marks almost all the spiritual fruit growing locations in the secret realm. You know, this is not a project that can be completed in 3 days. What does this mean? This means that while Yuling was studying in the academy, the secret realm once became his back garden. Kuner is so envious that she turns purple. After determining the location, Xiaoan looked in one direction and said, according to the information left in the notes, the most suitable spiritual fruit in the secret realm to enhance the attributes of the Death Scythe is called the Death Lantern Eye. It is located 100 kilometers ahead of us. In the forest. According to the speed we are going, we can reach the Death Forest tomorrow, but the Death Lantern fruit may not be there, so my plan is to drive in a curve and pick the spiritual fruits on the road as close as possible. What do you think? Same opinion, I'll listen to you. Yuling replied. Aha, Xiaoan looked at her in shock. If you agree with me, listen to me. What about different opinions? Yutaki, you have changed. Xiaoan's tone suddenly became lonely. Yuling felt a little strange. Have I changed? Changed? How has it changed? You've become so cute, hee hee. Xiaoan grinned, showing his big white teeth, and his face was full of happy dimples. Yutaki never joked before. Now that I have learned this kind of dry humor, I find it inexplicably cute. Yuling looked at him with a confused face, looking at his happy smile like a child, and really couldn't figure out where his smile was. Weirdly cute. Is this funny? Yuling was unmoved, and the smile on Xiaoan's face gradually stiffened, and finally disappeared completely from his face. Well, he was struck. Yuling is a woman who is simply strong and has no so-called cold humor. He quickly changed the topic to cover up his embarrassment. 5 kilometers ahead, there is something called the spirit-enhancing fruit growing. Its function is to increase the power of control in the body. It is suitable for both men and women. Let's go find it first, right? Good. So Yuling turned into a weapon spirit. Xiaoan held it in his hand, and quickly approached. The distance of 5 kilometers was quickly approaching. Once you get close, you can activate your perception skills and immediately sense energy points of all sizes around you. Locking on one of the strongest ones, Xiaoan immediately ran over. Sure enough, then I discovered a vine with white leaves and white fruits. The shape of the fruit is similar to that of ginseng fruit, and it exudes a very unique fragrance. There happened to be two. An unexpected surprise. You must know that spiritual fruits are nurtured by the essence of heaven and earth, and each plant only bears one fruit. Growing 2 of them at once is like a blessing from heaven and is very rare to see. Immediately, Xiaoan walked towards the spirit fruit, preparing to pick it. But just when he was within 10 meters, suddenly, a snake-like monster that had been hidden for a long time shot towards Xiaoan. The fangs are dense and shoot out venom, like a sharp arrow. Xiaoan was calm and composed, as if he didn't see it, and continued walking towards the spirit fruit without stopping. Just when the venom was about to splash onto Xiaoan, the demon scythe rotated its wrist, stirring up the ghostly energy, and the entire demon scythe fanned out like a cattail leaf fan. Puff! There was a muffled sound. This venomous snake was shot to pieces. The corpses fell to the ground like rotten flesh. Xiaoan sneered. Even the lowest level monster dared to snatch the spiritual fruit. Do you know what the secret realm of welfare is? Do whatever you want. This is called the secret realm of welfare. Walking up to the spirit-enhancing fruit and picking it off, Yuling turned into a human form, one for each of them. The effect of this stuff is very mild and does not need to be refined. It can be eaten directly into the stomach. After the 2 of them finished eating, they immediately felt light and fast. At the same time, in the contract space, the power of control seemed to be connected to the underground spring, growing gurglingly. After a while, Xiaoan felt that his whole body was full of strength. The effect of this spirit-enhancing fruit is really powerful. I feel like I'm about to break through the bottleneck of a second-grade spiritual master now. Xiaoan and Yuling themselves have double the effect of cultivation, and their cultivation speed is extremely fast. Even though most of their time this month was spent on practicing the art of control, they were indeed no slower than others in terms of cultivation level. Now that he had eaten the spirit-enhancing fruit, Xiaoan immediately felt that he had reached the bottleneck of a second-grade spiritual master. As long as he practiced cross-legged, he would probably be able to break through in just one day. Yuling immediately suppressed him. We can't break through now. After breaking through, we won't be able to fight for the secret realm. Xiaoan naturally understood this truth, which was why he agreed to Qin Wanfang so happily at that time. He knew that his realm was about to break through, so he suppressed it forcefully before entering the secret realm, and immediately broke through after entering the secret realm. At that time, with his second-grade spiritual control master's realm, and with the powerful control skills, Xiaoan would be able to use his power in the secret realm invincible vertically and horizontally. A second-grade spiritual master can definitely yell, "I'm going to beat you 10. Eat the spirit-enhancing fruit and move on." 10 kilometers away to the left, there is an elixir called soul condensation, which can enhance a person's spiritual power after being consumed. The two went quickly and arrived soon. Not to mention, every elixir is surrounded by monsters guarding them, but these monsters are too weak to threaten Xiaoan and the others. As for why the monsters are still so weak even though there are so many elixirs and fruits, the reason is very simple, that is, the academy regularly cleans out powerful monsters. As for these low-level monsters, as the students entered, they were killed twice a year, and almost all of them were cut off. Naturally, there were no powerful monsters left. It was easy to get the Po Jing gel. This was not a fruit, but a liquid secreted by the Po Jing grass. When the two of them were gathered together, they were almost equal to one person and two tails. Cheers. Drink it immediately. Soul essence condensation will not enhance the power of control, so there is no need to worry about breaking through the realm after drinking it. On the contrary, the increase in mental power will make it easier for Xiaoan to suppress the power in his body. After drinking it, I feel refreshed. Yuling couldn't help but his eyes brightened a bit. My talent perception has been enhanced again. It used to be within a range of 200 meters, but now it is 500 meters. It has more than doubled. Although it is only doubled, this is mental power. Mental power is the most difficult thing to cultivate, and many people are unable to increase their mental power throughout their lives, so this doubling is actually a surprise. Xiaoan also smiled and said, "There are really many things in this secret realm. No wonder the strength of those who come out of it has skyrocketed in a short period of time. The academy is really willing to give up. Only 2 people can enter such a big secret realm every year. Even if a chicken comes in, it will turn into coon. Well, let's go to the next place quickly," Yuling said immediately. She couldn't wait. "By the way, do you still have your storage bag?" Xiaoan suddenly showed a wicked smile. "Let me tell you, 2 kinds of people can't sleep in the same bed, so I have already prepared it for you." Immediately, a storage bag was placed in front of Yuling. Yuling took it and said, "Let's change the method. First go to the Death Forest to get the most important Death Lantern fruit, and then collect the spiritual fruits separately. Now our individual perception distance is almost the same as before. We can definitely find more spiritual fruits." "I agree." Xiaoan nodded. Death Lantern fruit is about quality. After getting quality, the next step is quantity. Combining quality and quantity can maximize benefits. Moreover, this secret realm is very safe. Even if the 2 of them are separated, there will be no danger. They hit it off immediately, and the 2 immediately went on their way. The distance of 100 kilometers was still a bit far, and the 2 of them were traveling on foot. Fortunately, I picked some physique fruit on the way. This is a spiritual fruit that can improve the functional properties of the whole body. It is suitable for both men and women. It's just that the effect is a bit weak, because it improves all attributes, unlike some spiritual fruits, strength, and speed that only increase attributes which come quickly. Fortunately, there are enough of them. Their storage bags finally started to come in handy. No rest, always on the move. After nearly 10 hours, the two finally arrived at the Forest of Death. It is said to be a forest of death. In fact, it is not a scene of white bones and dead branches and leaves, but a forest where black plants grow is the main theme. The aura of death was strong. When the two of them walked into the forest, they felt as if they were enveloped by death. This is Wangquan Nehi grass. It's actually growing. There's no record in the notes. Wait, there's a black hegan flower next to it. After the two walked a certain distance, Yuling suddenly exclaimed. When Xiaoan heard this, he looked over and found a faint black grass and a cluster of bionwa flowers that looked like garlic moss. It's just black garlic. Seeing these two spiritual grasses, Xiaoan couldn't help but breathe heavily. What a waste of time. Black hegan flower. These two are extremely rare death attribute spiritual grasses. There is even one here. Wangquan Niheisao, also known as the bridge to death. Because of the special nature of death, when ordinary people want to add death attributes to their weapon spirits, they must consider the side effects of death backlash. With Wangquan Nehi grass, this side effect can be reduced to the greatest extent. Spirit masters or weapon spirits who possess the attribute of death generally do not use Wangquan Nehi grass alone, but use it together with other materials so that the materials can achieve a perfect fusion. Just like its name, Wangquan Road, Nehi Bridge. It plays the role of a connection and can be understood as a medicine guide. As for the black hegan flower, in addition to strengthening the purity of the air of death, it also gives the air of death its soul enchanting effect. To put it simply, it is a different kind of mental strength enhancement, just like Xiaoan's imperial skill, fish lantern attracting souls. After absorbing the black hibiscus flower, the soul-inducing effect of the fish lantern will be even stronger. In the previous battle with Jiao Long could still stay awake for a few seconds in the fish lantern. But after Xiaoan and the others absorbed this cluster of flowers, and then faced Jiao Long would have to stand there and wait to die. These two spiritual herbs are perfect tools for improvement for the two of them. Its value is no less than the eyes of the death lantern. You know, when these two things appear in the outside world, they are usually accompanied by powerful monsters to protect them. If you want to get it, you will pay a heavy price. Now that she appears here, isn't this simply a free prostitution? Xiaoan saw that there was no note in the notebook and guessed, these two spiritual grasses grow in the soil most of the time. It is probably because our father was unlucky and did not notice them. This is the only explanation, otherwise it would be impossible for Yuling not to label such a good thing. But what the hell, as long as it appears now, it's mine. At that moment, he stepped forward and picked it without hesitation. Like other spiritual plants, these two spiritual plants are also guarded by monsters, which are nothing more than a vicious sticky black worm hiding in the soil. However, Xiaoan had sensed it a long time ago. When the magic sickle was pierced, the demonic beast didn't even fart, but green liquid came out, and it couldn't die anymore. This low-level monster is destined to die in this secret realm. Lifting the magic scythe, Xiaoan glanced at the blade of the magic scythe. It blows hair and cuts off hair, but the blood does not stain the knife. It is really a famous weapon. Picked successfully. This kind of special spiritual grass needs to be sealed and stored in a box made of special materials, but Xiaoan was prepared. He also took out something the size of a fingernail, opened it and then opened it. As if by magic, a box appeared. This kind of box is also a high-tech product. After all, it has been around for more than 100 years. The power of technology cannot be underestimated. It is also an indispensable backbone in the battle against monsters. With these two things, the quality of your weapon spirit can be greatly enhanced. Xiaoan put it in the box, his face filled with joy. Yuling becomes stronger, which means that he will also become stronger. This is the advantage of a life and death contract. It doesn't have to be like an equal contract, where you have to carefully consider how to divide the spoils. After collecting the two spiritual herbs, the two continued to move forward along the route. These two spiritual grasses are not suitable for refining now. If they are refined, they will probably break through the realm, and then the gains outweigh the losses. After walking for some distance, they were almost deep into the center of the forest, and the two finally discovered the goal of their trip. A yellow-red lantern eye of death. No, It's 2. Another unexpected surprise. I'm so lucky, I found it the first time. And there were 2 of them. Xiaoan really felt that he was constantly surprised. According to the description in the notes, the time when the Death Lantern Eye appears is not certain, and it may not be encountered every time you enter the secret realm. Yi Wuming only found it after entering the secret realm for the 3rd time. But Xiaoan's luck was surprisingly good, and he met it for the first time. And there are still 2. Lower-level spiritual fruits like the spirit-enhancing fruit are available one by one, let alone such advanced Death Lantern Eyes. But Xiaoan's luck was so good that he encountered 2 of them. Both were excited. The Death Lantern Eye is a spiritual fruit that looks like a lantern and an eye. It is very valuable, but it is targeted and cannot be used by spiritual masters with non-death attributes. It contains extremely pure death energy. After taking it, the death energy of Xiaoan and Yuling will be merged and improved with it, and there will be a qualitative leap. In addition, it has an additional effect of strengthening the eyes of the user. This effect, compared to his effect of purifying the air of death, is actually like a free gift. Because although it is strengthening, it actually just makes the eyes see further, see more clearly, and make the eyes sharper. It's better to cherish it than to drop it. But this kind of effect is not a very awesome thing in this world. Because with the growth of strength, the physical quality of the spiritual master will be strengthened, and it will be a matter of time before he can see further and see more clearly. But this is for others. For Xiaoan and Yuling, this effect is actually no worse than its effect of purifying the air of death. Because the imperial skills that Xiaoan will practice next require this effect very much. Among the notes left by Yi Wuming, there is a control technique called Death Gaze. If Xiaoan and the others develop this skill of control normally, they can also practice it, but only after they have reached the 3rd level of spiritual master. Because after becoming a 3rd level spiritual master, the physical strength has reached the standard. At this time, practicing the death gaze will not cause damage to the eyes. Otherwise, if you practice forcefully, it will cause irreversible damage. After eating the Death Lantern Eyes, the eyes will be strengthened in advance. In this way, Xiaoan can practice this imperial skill in advance. The death gaze control technique is to release a strong aura of death from the eyes, which can directly invade the enemy's brain, swallow up his vitality, and cause his brainstem to dry up and die in a short period of time. It is a very powerful and difficult to defend technique. Now that he has this spiritual fruit, Xiaoan will soon have another trump card. He looked at the 2 spiritual fruits and said, the notes indicate that there is a kind of snake-like monster that can use illusions to guard near the eyes of the Lantern of Death. Our father suffered a little loss from it at the beginning, so we have to be careful. Xiaoan murmured, but he suddenly picked up the death scythe in his hand and slashed at one of the 2 death lantern fruits. The speed is so fast that it's overwhelming. The next second, the magic sickle passed through the spirit fruit, but a shrill scream was heard. Afterwards, the spirit fruit disappeared, and a long black snake had its head cut off by Xiaoan in its place. Then he fell from the tree, twitched twice, and then became motionless. Looking at the corpse, Xiaoan sneered, playing with illusions under perception is like blushing in front of Guangong, not overestimating one's abilities. From the first moment he saw this Death Lantern Eye, Xiaoan had already discovered the existence of this snake. The calm behavior just now was just a pretense to dispel his defenses. It's just a pity that I was so happy that I thought there were really 2. Xiaoan picked the spiritual fruit and kept it. Now that he has plenty of energy in his body, he doesn't dare to eat these things casually. If he is just a little greedy, he will break through to the 2nd grade spiritual master. The most important thing is in hand. The next step is to implement the search policy. Everything you see is in your pocket. Yuling turned into a human form, glanced at the map, and said, 1 person, 1 direction, meet at the blood spring when the time comes. Good, Xiaoan responded, and the 2 of them walked in different directions. Started their sweep journey. Dragon Yang fruit, Red Yang root, Tiger Yang Tian. Xiaoan looked at the things in his notes while searching, feeling a little ashamed. What did Wuming leave for me this night? That's my daughter. The 3-day deadline came quickly. Blood fountain. Xiaoan and Yuling met up. Seeing that the other person looked like a migrant worker with a family, carrying a large bag full on his back, like a hill, they both laughed in unison. Xiaoan, in particular, sighed inwardly. Is this the power that comes from soft rice? It's really delicious, especially if it's a soft rice that you can eat hard. If it hadn't been for Yuling, Xiaoan felt that even if he had won first place and entered this secret realm, he might not have been able to collect so many good things. At this moment, in this scene, Xiaoan just wanted to look up to the sky and shout. Crying alone is invincible. The two of them put their things on the ground, both panting from exhaustion. Xiaoan patted the pile and said, "It may seem difficult to raid this secret realm, but it's actually not that simple. Haha, my face is very happy." The area he wanted to plunder had already been completely plundered by him, and he even plucked out 2 feathers from the wild geese flying past. It's a pity that I don't have enough time. After searching so much, I still haven't visited half of the secret area. It seems that it can only be done next time. Yuling also wiped the fine beads of sweat on his forehead, his cold little face was slightly red, and with a smile in the corner of his eyes, he took out a spiritual fruit and handed it to Xiaoan. Eat some fruit to relieve your fatigue. Xiaoan took a look and saw that it was just an ordinary spiritual fruit, its only function was to relieve fatigue. But the important thing is that this was given by Yuling. Even with his cold personality, he can be so careful. Thanks. Xiaoan took it and ate it with big mouthfuls. It tasted sweet. Of course, the main reason is that my wife adds sugar. Yuling ate in small bites. She glanced at it and noticed that Xiaoan's storage bag was much larger than hers. I couldn't help but ask, why do you have so many more things than me? What are they? No. Nothing. Xiaoan suddenly felt embarrassed and did not dare to eat the spiritual fruit. A large part of the things inside are those that Yuling asked him to pick, but they cannot be discovered by Yuling. He didn't want to do this because he felt he was strong. He once looked at it with a magnifying glass. He said it was second, but no one dared to say it was first. It was just that Yuling emphasized in his notes that Xiaoan must be allowed to handle these things, and his tone was very serious. Xiaoan felt that Yuling was not innocent, so he finally followed Yuling's wishes and went to collect these things. Xiaoan's expression made Yuling suspicious. Is it really nothing? It's really nothing. Xiaoan was very sure and said to himself, anyway, you will know it later. Oh, Xiaoan didn't want to say anything, and Yuling didn't ask any further questions. Then, she looked at the blood spring and said, there is still an hour before we go out. This hour is just the right time for the last step, soaking in the blood spring. Blood fountain. It can stimulate the body's blood potential and mobilize the hidden potential of the body's blood vessels through external stimulation, thereby fundamentally transforming the body's bones, meridians, flesh and blood and other aspects. The function is equivalent to shaping the foundation. This step can allow the spiritual master and the weapon spirit to go further. Every student who enters the secret realm will undergo the project of soaking in the blood spring. Xiaoan immediately didn't waste any time, stripped down to his underwear, and jumped into the blood fountain with a pop. Yuling followed closely behind, but she was more conservative than Xiaoan. Xiaoan only wore a pair of underpants, but she also wore an extra top. Although this blood spring is called a blood spring, its color is an intoxicating pink, and it seems to have been transformed into a heart shape. The academy is intentional and deliberately promotes the relationship between men and women. Seeing Yuling's skin exuding an alluring pink luster against the backdrop of the pink spring water, with sparkling waves and full atmosphere lighting effects, Xiaoan couldn't help but be stunned. Yuling also saw Xiaoan's slightly obsessed eyes. A hint of shyness flashed in his eyes. He nodded and lowered his eyebrows, not daring to look directly into Xiaoan's eyes. How can a man tolerate this kind of shy, ready-to-pick attitude? Xiaoan took her hand and moved closer to her. Get ready for a collision of lips and tongues. But at this moment, Xiaoan suddenly felt a stab of pain under his feet, interrupting this beautiful atmosphere. Seeing this, Yuling quickly distanced himself a little, feeling shy. Xiaoan was furious. He was always interrupted at critical moments. He wanted to see what could be so bold. After groping with his hands, he took out the culprit from the bottom of the spring, which was a blood-red stone. Just as he was about to throw it away, Xiaoan suddenly realized that something was wrong with the stone. The whole body is blood red without a trace of impurities, and the middle part is so red that it almost bleeds. Holding it in his hand, there was a feeling of blood boiling, but at the same time, this blood was a little weird and sinister, which made Xiaoan unable to control it, and he had the urge to rush out and have a fight. Ghost blood eyes. Xiaoan exclaimed. This turned out to be a top-quality weapon refining material, ghost blood eye. Isn't my luck too bad? Just take a dip in the blood fountain and pick up a ghost blood eye. You know, this piece of ghost blood eye is a top-grade weapon refining material. It is priceless and has no market outside. No one will take it out. Because its effect is so powerful, just like the blood fountain, once the weapon spirit is successfully embedded, the potential of the bloodline can be stimulated all the time. It is equivalent to carrying a mobile blood fountain with you wherever you go. When it comes to practice, the effect will be greatly increased, and when it comes to battle, it can even unleash super powerful Jedi comeback power. This is the material that all spiritual masters dream of. Every spiritual master wants to use it to inlay the weapon spirit and add attributes to the weapon spirit. However, such a good ghost blood eye also has a fatal flaw, that is, it contains a trace of evil. If this evil spirit is not dealt with properly, it will damage the foundation of the weapon spirit at best and render the person useless, or kill him directly at worst. But even so, there are still many people flocking to it. Because the rewards are so great, what is the risk of death compared to the power? In this world of monsters and beasts, the most valuable thing is human life. Therefore, the extreme pros and cons of this thing have also divided the world into two factions. One is those who risk their lives and fight to the death. Such people are often in desperate situations or have no hope of improving their own strength. The other category is people who don't dare to use it, but are reluctant to give it to others or sell it. I can only stay at the bottom of the box and wait for the opportunity. Yuling also walked up at this moment, looking at the ghost blood eye with a look of surprise in his eyes. The purity of this ghost blood eye is very high, probably because it has been soaked in the blood spring for a long time. In the future, maybe this ghost blood eye will be useful in the development route. Xiaoan frowned and said, although this ghost blood eye has high purity, the higher it is, the more powerful its evil energy is. Many strong people have come and gone to try to conquer it, but they have all been bitten by it. Before we can find a solution, it's best not to touch it. Xiaoan put away the ghost blood eye, thinking the same as most people. This thing is like gold in the apocalypse. It's useless to keep it, but it's a pity to throw it away. We can only hope that one day the apocalypse will end and it will regain its vitality. After this small episode, the two people started bathing in the blood spring again. After the skin was stained by the blood spring, the faint tingling sensation on the skin immediately came, as if countless silver needles penetrated directly into the pores and entered the deepest nerve levels. It hurts a little, but it's bearable. It's just that this kind of pain will gradually deepen as time goes on, and will reach the limit that Xiaoan and the others can endure after an hour. That's why they only have an hour to themselves. Burying his whole body into the blood spring, Xiaoan carefully felt the change of cleansing the essence and marrow. Time also passes quickly in this immersive painful experience. I don't know how much time passed, but just when Xiaoan felt a little unable to hold on, suddenly, there was a slight noise on the shore. It's like a mouse stealing food. There's a thief. Xiaoan was shocked. The spiritual fruits were still on the shore and could not be stolen. I quickly opened my eyes and saw that it was not a mouse, but a tiger. A white, soft and cute tiger. When Xiaoan looked at it, it also spotted Xiaoan. One person and one tiger looked at each other. The white tiger immediately ran away with the spiritual fruit in its mouth. Want to run? Xiaoan immediately waved his hand, and the death scythe appeared in his hand. He threw it casually, and the death scythe shot out, aiming at the little white tiger. The murderous intention is determined and leaves no room for error. It's cute, but it can't save its life. The little white tiger's eyes were filled with panic, and its forelegs were about to run away, but even so, it still held the spiritual fruit in its mouth tightly and refused to relax. The magic scythe came quickly, and the little white tiger was killed under the magic scythe. But suddenly, its body experienced a strange fluctuation, as if it was dislocated out of thin air, and it escaped this fatal blow. Xiaoan was surprised. Was he dazzled? Still not aiming. Xiaoan recalled the magic sickle. The little white tiger had already run away, and there was no need to chase him now. And it's just a spiritual fruit, Xiaoan has more of them now. This monster has some abilities and is a little different from the other monsters in this secret realm. I was sure I could kill it just now, but it just shifted. My route didn't change, it did. Yulong's voice came. They also killed a lot of monsters in the secret realm, almost all of them with one hit. I have never encountered anyone who was able to escape in a locked situation like the one just now. Xiaoan also saw that the monster was special. Not to mention anything else, its smart eyes alone made it different from other monsters. However, it had already run away at this time, and there was no way to find out what happened. What's more, it's too late now, they should go out. Yuling immediately prepared to change back and help Xiaoan carry a bag of spiritual fruits. But at this time, Xiaoan said in a very gentlemanly manner, "No, you are a girl, I can handle this kind of thing." Yuling was a little confused and felt strange. This is what Xiaoan said, but why did Mao have a bad premonition? Sure enough, in the next second, Xiaoan hung 2 pieces of spiritual fruit on the 2 heads of the death demon scythe spirit, and then carried it on his shoulders like a porter. Yuling has a slim waist and a black line on his forehead. The premonition came true. Actually, I think it's good for each of us to have one bag. Yuling's voice came. Xiaoan spoke firmly, "It's okay, don't worry about me, I can do it." Yuling has a rare cold face. "Of course you can, but don't you think this is not sharing my burden? Originally I was carrying 1 pile, but now I am carrying 2. Originally you were carrying 1 lump, but now you are carrying 2 lumps, plus me. So, can I still have this husband? It feels a little silly." At the same time, the mountain behind Beatty Yuling Academy is the entrance and exit of the secret realm. 2 guards are waiting here for Xiaoan and Yuling who are about to come out. "Make a bet, how many things will you bring out of the 2 students who entered the secret realm this time?" One of the guards said. The other guard immediately smiled and became interested. Old rules. 1. The 2 of them were obviously old gamblers. One person immediately said, "They are freshmen and have never been in. I think not counting the food inside, they should be able to take out 10 coins to reach the sky." Most of the previous students had this number. I think there should be a little more, at least 15 starting points. These 2 students are not easy to deal with. They killed people in the freshman competition. Killing someone and hunting for treasure are 2 different things. Killing someone can only mean they have courage and strength, but it doesn't mean they have good brains. Strong strength just proves that you have good brains. Can you use the skills of a first-grade spiritual master? Okay, stop it. If the fight continues, it will be endless. We will know when they come out. The 2 guards are both old gamblers. Neither one obeys the other's boss. They can argue about a small matter for a whole day. But in this situation, they are not allowed to argue. So stop immediately. Soon the time was coming, and both of them set their sights on the exit. There was also a ripple flashing at the exit. It was Xiaoan and Yuling who were coming out. The 2 of them looked at each other intently, and both lowered their gazes a little, wanting to see clearly the amount in their hands at the first possible moment. But as a gray-green round thing came out of the exit first, the expressions on the 2 people's faces suddenly froze. "What is this? Looks like a storage bag. It looks like it's full of swelling. Are you picking up garbage?" There is no garbage in the secret realm either. The storage bag is like a fat man's big belly, coming out of the secret realm little by little, just a little bit bigger at first. But as he walked out, the area of the storage bag became larger and larger. When he reached the back, it was about the same size as the height of the 2 men. In this way, the entire storage bag was finally completely presented in front of the 2 people. The 2 were shocked. What on earth is this thing pretending to be? Such a big lump. It can't be a spiritual fruit, right? But it's not over yet. With the appearance of this lump, the death demon scythe spirit also gradually appeared. The scythe was horizontal and carried on Xiaoan's shoulder. The 2 guards were shocked again. Pick. Is there another lump? As soon as this idea appeared, sure enough, the next second, another lump appeared behind Xiaoan. Moreover, this lump is even bigger. The 2 guards were stunned. What on earth did this guy go in for? putting such a big thing out? What's inside? They have been guarding this place for so long, and have experienced so many students entering the secret realm, but they have never encountered such a weird thing. I was completely frightened by Xiaozan's exaggerated behavior. Comrade, classmate, what are you pretending to be here? A guard finally couldn't help but asked. Oh, it's nothing, they're all worthless things. Xiaozan smiled lightly and left quickly. This conspicuous bag is not easy to wear. Although the guards here maintain absolute confidentiality, what if something happens? Oh, it turns out it's worthless. The two guards came to their senses and smiled at each other. Seeing Xiaozan looking guilty as a thief, they thought it was a spiritual fruit. Etc. Spirit fruit. The two of them were suddenly startled and suddenly realized something. Are there any worthless things in the secret realm? No, right. He didn't even have the confidence to say the last word, bah. Report it to the dean quickly. Meanwhile, the dean's office. Zhang Wenfu was chatting with Qin Wanfang while waiting for Xiaozan and Xiaozan to come out. At this moment, Zhang Wenfu suddenly received a message from the guard. Dean, Xiaozan came out carrying 2 large bags of spirit fruits. It's just 2 packs of spiritual fruits. What a fuss. It doesn't look like a guard at all. Zhang Wenfu scolded. No, Dean, it's 2 big bags, 2 big bags. The guard was a little anxious, fearing that he couldn't explain clearly. Dean, look at the surveillance camera, you'll understand at a glance. Okay, I get it. Just 2 big bags. How big can they be? Ah. Zhang Wenfu responded while turning on the surveillance camera. When he saw it, he was so shocked that he lost his voice. It's so big. The picture he called up was exactly the scene of Xiaozan slowly walking out of the secret realm. The death scythe was used as a shoulder pole, and 2 snakeskin bags were hung on it. It's small in the front and big in the back, and it's packed full of spiritual fruits. Extremely exaggerated, just like a mountain lifter. Moreover, Xiaozan Yuan exaggerated a lot. This explosive scene was extremely explosive even in the entire Tiaoshan industry, and Zhang Wenfu's mouth exploded to the ground. This guy, how did he find so many spiritual fruits? Zhang Wenfu's eyes were as big as bells, filled with incredible words. Normally, students in the freshman competition enter the secret realm and eat and take out. When they exit, they usually only have a dozen or so spiritual fruits that are enough to reach the sky. Among those veteran students who have gone in many times and are somewhat familiar with the secret realm, there are only 30 or 40 at a time. After all, although the secret realm is not dangerous, it still needs to be explored. Many roads are in vain, and time is wasted on these. And when Xiaozan went in for the first time, he actually came out with 2 big snakeskin bags. 2 big snakeskin pockets, and each one is still bulging. At a glance, there must be at least 400 to 500 in total. The total number of spiritual fruits in the entire secret realm is only about 1,000. This guy just took away half of it. Zhang Wenfu felt like his brain was short-circuited. Suddenly, he remembered what Xiaozan had said to him before entering the secret realm. He didn't pay attention at the time, but now that he thought about it carefully, he felt that the way Xiaozan looked at him was a little weird. This guy definitely came prepared. Zhang Wenfu suddenly slapped the table in annoyance, wishing he could slap himself twice. It's all because I'm too pretentious, and now I'm slapped in the face. If I had known, I would have limited his quantity. Qin Wanfang, who was standing next to him, looked at the scene and immediately understood what was happening. He couldn't help but smile, but comforted him. Dean, don't be upset yet. There may not be spiritual fruit in that bag. Is it really worthless? There are worthless things in the secret realm. You are so confused. With Xiaozan's character, you don't need to guess to know that all of them are spiritual fruits. Zhang Wenfu couldn't help roaring. It was okay if Qin Wanfang didn't comfort him, but when he comforted him, it made Zhang Wenfu's mood explode. These spiritual fruits were the capital of his Beatty Academy to cultivate aces, and half of them were snatched away by Xiaozan in such a short time. How else can he train an ace? What a waste of training. Dean, how can a man living between heaven and earth be depressed because of such a few spiritual fruits? Qin Wanfang continued to console him. It's just that this comfort sounds like schadenfreude no matter how you listen to it. Zhang Wenfu knew that his kid was just watching the excitement and didn't take it too seriously, so he was very rude. Don't fart for me. I didn't take the spiritual fruit from your secret service. Of course you can stand and talk without back pain. Dean, what you said is wrong. What's wrong with me? Zhang Wenfu glared, his momentum unyielding. When the sword was at war, Qin Wanfang smiled and spread his hands. I am sitting now, not standing. He was really sitting. No wonder I don't have back pain. Zhang Wenfu choked with anger. This guy is making fun of himself. He really doesn't take his senior brother seriously. I was about to teach him a lesson. At this time, Qin Wanfang said with a straight face, this guy packs big and small bags, and he acts like a follow-up. But this method is a bit rough. Using the weapon spirit as a carrying pole is something Xiaoan can only think of. Doesn't he know that she is his wife? He doesn't even feel sorry for her. Dean, don't be too upset. Anyway, your trump card plan is to pay attention to the word, pile. Who should you give this spiritual fruit to? It's his ability to eat them all. Besides, he is powerful. Why don't you also take advantage of it? After hearing what he said, Zhang Wenfu also walked down the steps. He wasn't angry to begin with, but Qin Wanfang was deliberately trying to make someone angry. He immediately sat down and said, it's a done deal. I'm not that stingy. However, he took so many spiritual fruits from me. I have to warn you, don't play him to death, otherwise I will call your secret service. Compensation. It's the compensation person, not the spiritual fruit. He added. Qin Wanfang was very confident. This little guy is smarter than I thought. I have great confidence in sending him this time. HMPH, you better be like this. However, Qin Wanfang was a little confused. Having said that, the intelligence and strength shown by this little guy don't look like an F-level talent at all. How come this information is registered as an F-level talent? Zhang Wenfu also wondered about this matter, but he didn't really care. Whatever, this world is about strength, not talent. Don't say Xiaoan is F-level, even if he and Yuling are both F-level, as long as they have this strength, they can enter the secret realm at will. Makes sense. Qin Wanfang pursed his lips, then stood up from his seat. Okay, it's almost time, and it's time for me to leave. Senior brother, we will see you again in the future. Hearing this, Zhang Wenfu's expression suddenly froze. Sadness crawled into his eyes. He glanced out the window, and sighed, the last time we, brothers and sisters, met, it was 10 years ago, right? Qin Wanfang's memory was brought back 10 years ago, and he couldn't help but sigh. Yeah, I haven't seen him in 10 years. The atmosphere is a bit sad. Zhang Wenfu smiled freely again and punched him on the shoulder. Okay, let's be brothers in our hearts. Don't be melancholy and act like a girl. Haha, you're right. We are brothers in our hearts. Qin Wanfang also smiled. The hearty laughter diluted a lot of sadness. Okay, let's go. Don't forget what you promised me. You must let this kid Xiaoan come back alive. Qin Wanfang nodded heavily, then took one last look at Zhang Wenfu and left the office. Zhang Wenfu watched him leave. His eyes couldn't help but become sad again, and he sighed. This time it will be 10 years, and I don't know how long it will be next time. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.